the preppers' fireside we stay, ready for that fateful day. Stories shared and hearts alight, around the fire every night. Whoa, whoa.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Preppers Fireside. Whichever channel you're watching on, we're broadcasted across all 4 channels this evening: UK Urban Prepper, World Survivalist, Brown Coat Prepper, and Scottish Prepper 73. So wherever you join us from, big hello in the comments. Make sure you've hit the like, whichever stream you're watching on. Alan, good to have you back with us. How are you doing?
Good to be back. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Not so bad, not so bad. I preferred your disco lighting you had before we came live, you know.
The disco light, I had to get a new light because I broke my other light and I don't know how to work it. So I probably shouldn't go. There we go.
He went into...
I could do the whole podcast like this.
Yeah, teenage TikToker disco mode he went into.
Oh, see, now I don't know how to put it back. There we go. There we go.
It's working well.
So it's all right. It'll blend in when Brian's light starts flickering in about 10 minutes, as per usual.
One of these days I'll replace it again.
Yeah, the guy that's all about power can't even fit a light bulb. It's shocking. Barry, not seen you for a while. How you doing?
Not too bad, thanks, mate. Been busy with different shifts at work, etc. So yeah, but glad to be back.
Fun and games. Fun and games.
Mm.
Brian, you're never busy, so you're always here. How you doing?
I slave for my employer. I have, I slave. I should get paid double for what I do.
Yeah, right. How can you double overpay somebody? I'm not sure how that works.
Well, it works for you.
Yeah, right. Oh dear. Right, serious topic tonight. Remove the smiles. Preparing for war. So it's on topic. So on topic, in fact, I saw an AI prepper channel with 4,000 subscribers, and a preparing for war video had 218,000 views. Now, it wasn't jealousy, but I thought people are clearly searching for this.
Yeah.
So people want to know how to do it, what to do, and stuff like that. So I suppose we should squash the odds first. Alan, what's the chances of actual war affecting the UK, do you think?
I think actual war, I mean, it will affect the UK. War just now is affecting the UK economically, and I think it's going to get more. We're going to have more of an effect, even at individual levels, of an ever-escalating war in the Middle East. But a kinetic war, a proper war where British troops are on the ground, I think that's highly, highly unlikely. Potentially service personnel in aircraft or military bases could be under threat more so as time goes on. I don't think we're going to see an Iraq-style event take place anytime soon. But there will be an opportunity now for the likes of Russia to make moves. While the world is distracted with the Middle East, etc., and China doing its own thing as well. But before the kinetic war comes the economic war, and I think we're already seeing that now, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah, so we're seeing the effects, whether it's indirectly or directly. We're still seeing that right now, right? Brian, what's your thoughts on this actual warfare, either boots on the ground in the UK or just a case of the knock-on effects of logistics?
I think arguably we've been in a war since the 90s. We've never actually been out of a state of conflict in Europe or in the UK, directly or indirectly, since the first Gulf War, the Gulf War of the 90s. So the only thing that's changed is the military's ability to fight a war, if we had to, has been reduced somewhat by succession of poor governments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're indirectly involved in a war just now, and we will directly suffer the effects of the conflicts. Europe, we suffered it with Russia with the gas first. Now we're going to suffer it again with the Middle East with the gas and the oil.
Yeah, yeah. Barry, chances of troops walking down Birmingham High Street?
I don't think we've quite got to the stage of what was that film? Red Dawn just yet. But as both Brian and Alan have said, we're already feeling the effects of wars. You know, you've got price increases, no shortages on the shelves that as of yet. But I can personally see that probably happening in the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, something like that. I think you'll start to notice more of an economic change.
I think we're seeing fuel increases and stuff like that now. I'm going to have this last question on the likelihoods as an open question because I know it's a touchy subject, so people can chime in if they want. What about civil war? In the aspect of we have lots of undocumented people in this country that could be triggered. Do you think that is a likely scenario for war at all in this country? Or not necessarily just triggered through the calling jihad, but triggered through elections and a far right party getting in, a far left party getting in, stuff like that? Is civil war a potential? Anybody?
I personally think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the scale of like rioting and stuff like that, more than actual war.
I think it won't be sort of large-scale rioting. I think what you'll see, first of all, you'll see more reported incidents of isolated happenings. And at first, maybe they won't seem like they're all connected. But yeah, I can see things slowly simmering and then coming to a boil, shall we say.
Interesting.
I'd say you're probably at the start of it now, to be controversial, because you've got a populace in the UK who is expressing their displeasure at the way the country is going. If there's any crimes on that's reported in social media or in the news, they generally take out the names of, they generally take out a description of them and the instances of reported crimes of a certain type. I'm being very careful what I say here. But because of this, the instances of crimes of certain types being done by certain people gets largely underreported.
Yeah.
And anybody that comments on it directly gets largely persecuted. So you're already seeing social disorder on an entry level scale now, because people's voices aren't being heard. So when people's voices aren't being heard, you start to get protests. So you're seeing protests throughout the country about uncontrolled immigration largely, and people are unhappy about it. So then you have counter protests by people who are saying, well, let's just let everybody in. And I don't know how that works personally, but anyway. So you've got two extremes. And when you've got two extremes, you're going to have a clash. And that's before you talk about the people that you've let in the first place. I don't think anybody can discount the possibility of an event when you've got tens of thousands of undocumented people in the UK who you've no idea what training they've had, where they've come from, or what previous crimes, if any, they've committed. Even if a small percentage of those have got ill intent, then we've opened the floodgates to a major problem.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about it.
Agreed.
I mean, we can talk about it. We are talking about it. We can't.
Very loosely.
Yeah.
Do you know as well?
Be too passionate about it.
one of the bigger problems, like, see everything you're just saying there, Brian, like all of those problems, all of those issues that we've been having over the few years, the larger and more the war in the Middle East escalates, the more those problems will come to a head, because a consequence of it is eventually we're going to start seeing immigration from Iran or neighboring countries or wherever it expands to. There probably already are Iranians trying to make their way to boats right now, I'd imagine, you know. I wouldn't find that entirely far-fetched. Plus, you're going to have a whole succession now of people claiming asylum based on, well, I can't go back there because the regime's changed and I'm going to be killed, or the regime hasn't changed and I'm going to be killed. It's the perfect excuse now to claim asylum in a place like the United Kingdom. And we know Iran has sleeper cells and things like that. From the civil war point of view, I don't like. I mean, I like, proper words. The definition of civil war. There's zero chance of that happening in the UK. There's only been 3 civil wars in the UK. The last one was in like 16th century, sometime 17th century.
Yeah, I mean, when
we don't have any armed groups. Yeah, civil unrest, which is very far away from civil war, because you need to have an organized armed group with clear objectives, fighting, an actual
I don't
war.
think we're a million miles away from civil war, though, because I mean, an armed group doesn't necessarily have to have modern arms. A large enough mob could be an army with sticks and stones.
even Northern Ireland wasn't a civil war by all definitions, and the IRA were well mobilized. They had a hierarchy and they were armed. Yet that still technically wasn't classed as a civil war. So the prospect of that happening in mainland Britain, even more so now, I don't think the IRA could even operate like that anymore, thanks to modern technology and surveillance. That's largely done away with that kind of concept. One of the main reasons we're not seeing a mass uprising in Iran is because the population there is unarmed. Iran is one of the few Middle Eastern countries where the population have no guns. I mean, I
never knew that. Fairness.
Yeah, they have almost no weaponry to be able to go out and commit some sort of uprising. The only people who are generally armed in Iran are the Kurds, which make up a fraction of the population of Iran. I mean, everybody seems to think Iran is like this one big country of people who are like all Persians. The Persians only make up about 55 or 60% or something. The rest of them are other ethnic groups that are completely different and have their own agendas and goals. The Kurds in the north are the ones that are likely to do any kind of uprising, and they've been attacked from all angles, even by Turkey, for years. Most of them are in Iraq. They're not in Iran. So they would have to sort of get their way into Iran somehow in order to start this uprising and have some sort of popular backing. And it's nobody knows if that's going to happen. No, I don't think the CIA know.
Isn't it funny that a totalitarian regime thought it'd be a good idea to disarm their nation to keep control?
Very smart of them. Seems to works a treat, doesn't it?
Yeah. In the Wind said, how does the UK have a civil war with no firearms? We have firearms. We have firearms. For God's sake, we have firearms. How many shotguns are in the UK, roughly? Anybody got a number?
Licensed shotguns in Scotland, there's over 100,000 minimum. I read up the figures ages ago. There's over 100,000 licensed Section 2 holders for shotguns. So there'll be many more shotguns than that. There's lots.
England and Wales, here we go. Last thing, firearm certificates, 145,000, 626,000 guns and 482,000 shotgun certificates. A total of 1.33 million guns in England and Wales. Scotland is the numbers you just said, and Northern Ireland have 171,000. Stop saying we don't have any. Right.
Yeah. kind of the wrong kind of guns. I mean, you're not fighting any battles with shotguns, that's for sure.
Okay, perfect for the UK, for urban warfare, for scattering pigeons.
Birdshot, yeah.
Thank you, Tax Group, for the super sticker. Much appreciated. We have been demonetized in the first 10 minutes. We've mentioned Iran, IRA, and everything else that YouTube's just had a fit at. So I appreciate any of the super chats. They always help, whichever channel you're watching on. Did you get past your number, Alan?
I did.
Yay!
So I am officially getting my 30 pence a week or whatever it is as of next week.
That's it. You can join the Millionaires Prepper Club now.
I'm going to walk into work tomorrow, just kick the bin over and be like, that's it. I'm a YouTuber now. I don't need your crap.
Yeah, I wouldn't if I was you.
I don't think so.
Comes back to the first month, realize you can't even afford a grocery. Oh dear. Anyway, fun and games. Right. Yeah. So I just saw that comment come up and I had to address it because I'm sick of people saying it. It's frustrating. Right. So the reality of war, preparing for it, whether we like it or not, whether we think the odds it's going to happen or not, could land on our doorstep. This could come in many different forms. Okay, so this could be the knock-on effects from war, which we expect to see: logistics, fuel prices, lack of fuel, fuel shortages, things like that, power outages, rolling blackouts, etc. Indirect or even direct, like we saw in the Sky podcast. The I keep forgetting the name of it. You know which one I mean. The Sky thing that where the Russians missiled us.
The war game scenario.
War games, that's it.
Mm.
Yeah, the war game scenario. So it could be
That was
something
like a
like
bad game of charades. The
I
thing,
know, yeah.
you know, the thing, the guy, that guy, no, the other guy.
The other guy. You're the left.
You got it though. You got it, so it worked. Yeah, it could be something like that. It could be like missile attack, stuff like that from a rogue nation. Could be internal, anything like that. So the ways to prepare are threefold, as far as I'm concerned. Join the army, become part of the machine, avoid the army, or go it alone. So it's preparing ourselves and our household and preparing for what the government's going to do are two different things. So we're going to go down the route of we're not all getting conscripted, okay, while we're talking tonight, just to throw that out there.
Yay!
So whether it's rocket attacks or whether it's indirect effects, what priorities? I'll go to you first, Alan, because you're not the prepper.
Mhm.
What priorities do you think you should get prepared first with?
One of us.
Is this? So
Thank you, Bob.
This is on the.
That's on one of your channels. There you go. I'm not sure.
Is this on
This
the-
congrats. So I think it might be on Alan's.
Oh really? Great.
Yeah.
Thank you if it is.
I can't
never
see, I
read the
just-
comment. I can't even see the comments really. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the prospect of some sort of sneak attack, something that just takes us completely out of something out of the blue, rocket attack or something along those lines. How should we prepare for that? First, I think you have to have some sort of plan of escape of your area. Have another place that's a reasonable distance away, whether that's a distant family member or just a place that you can kind of bug out to, and genuinely put some thought into that bug out plan. I know most people are of the opinion you should bug in. I'm of that opinion as well. But there is a point where if you've literally got bombs raining in, if that happens to be the area that you're in, that makes zero sense for you to just hope that it passes over.
If you're living in the center of Kiev, for example, and that's the
Exactly.
main target, then it might be an idea to go and live in the country.
Yeah, I mean, tens of hundreds of thousands of people in Ukraine had to bug out. Now, whether they voluntarily did it or not is irrelevant. At some point, they said, this part of the region is under attack. Invasion is imminent. I have to bug out. I have to go west. And that's what they did. And potentially the same thing could be the case in the UK. I mean, and then it did happen in the Second World War. We evacuated children to the countryside. They bugged out to the countryside. Some people moved out of populous areas if they were able to in order to get away. So I think it makes reasonable sense to at least have a plan in the sense of genuinely thinking, where could I actually go to? Don't leave it to the point where you're standing outside your bombed out house thinking, now what do I do? Because if we're at that stage, nobody's going to put you under shelter. There's going to be no help for you because we're in dire straits if that's the case.
Yeah.
And prepare for that as well. Prepare for that travel. Prepare for that journey with your family and all of the things that go behind that.
Yeah, I think people are too diehard bug in. If it's an evacuation order, Brian, you're going to have to leave all the power banks behind.
No.
Or
I
at
mean,
the very least, have a plan to bug out with them. Organise the logistics of that now.
And the
What,
camper
an
van.
18-wheel truck.
The good thing with that is if I had to, I could fit all the power banks in the rear garage of the camper van and the folding solar panels. So
It'll be
lifeboat
it'll
would
be
be fine.
doing on two wheels going down the road like.
It's fine, Mike. My fat arse will be in the front, so it's going to counterbalance nicely.
All right.
All the wheels will be on the tyres.
Have you tested this weight distribution theory?
I test it every time I sit in the driver's seat. The van is literally crying.
I mean that must weigh a lot. All in power banks, genuinely. Like, have you tested that in the vehicle?
You're looking at 22 kilograms for a Delta 2 Max.
Right.
So there would be two of those. The Delta 2s are 18 kilograms each. There's two of those. There'll be an A-frame. There'd be a couple of C200s. So probably call it about 150 kilograms.
Right. Okay. That's not too bad.
It's not outrageous. Put it this way: if you didn't fill the water tanks in the van, so the fresh water, if you didn't fill them up, it weighs the same as the power banks.
Right. Okay. So water or power, that's your choice. Yeah, I mean, but if it was a mandatory evacuation order, like, and rockets are coming down on your town, or they're targeted, or they expect an attack there, so they want you to move out for a couple of weeks, Brian, something you'd do, or would you try and be this diehard, no, I'm going to die with my preps?
You would have to make a realistic assessment of how viable it is to stay. It'd be impossible to answer without knowing what was going on. And that's assuming you're given a choice. In time of war, when they enact spurious legislation, shall we say, a lot of choices might be taken out of your hands by force. That might not even be allowed to take the van and fill it with power banks. So that's assuming that I've got a degree of control over my life at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if it was an evacuation order for an area, it wouldn't immediately be troops on the ground loading you into a bus. It would just be telling you to get out of that area initially.
And to be honest, where they were telling you to go would have an effect on whether I would even move out the house. So if they're telling me...
I assume it'd be like it is in Ukraine. It's not a case of go here and be safe. It's literally... they're told us they're going to bomb this area. If you're in this area, get out. That's it. They don't care where you go. You just get out of these postcode areas.
Apart from a nuke, conventional munitions, there's nothing near me worth blowing up. So, and they're not going to warn me about a nuke because there'd be no point. Me and the rest of the central belt of Scotland would be gone. Me and Alan would be glowing in the dark like the Ready Brek guy.
Well, what happened is Putin saw all your power banks and thought you was a threat, so that's why you're now a target.
He saw that pile of Pepsi and thought he put him out of his misery.
Yes, Barry. Barry gets promoted to the top window. There we go.
I'm just going to throw it out there, Alan. Have you noticed how there's an element of conquered countries here that the Scots have been subjugated again?
Shocking.
Where's the off button?
If you to bug out, I mean, if we're talking in time of conflict, you would have to assume that you might be required to bug out, but all your preps are generic anyway. You're only dealing with your preps are to deal with the effects of war, not war itself, because it's going to be the effects of shortages, be that fuel, power, food, or water. The same as we prep for everything. We prep for shortages and problems. So the fact that it's war for me wouldn't change anything. It might. The only thing it would change is that I might be forced, like you said, to relocate. That'd be about it.
Yeah. Barry, what do you think? Bugging in, bugging out. You are semi-urban as well.
Yeah.
You could be more urban, ideally. You know, you could be more rural, ideally. Yeah. Is it only bugging out if it's a mandatory order for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Yes. I mean, if we're told to leave the area, I've got 4 or 5 different locations I could head out to where I should be okay. Well, me and the missus should be okay. You know, but I mean, it depends on what you're allowed to take, if you're allowed to take anything, and the method of you being moving. If you're just being told to go, then obviously you've got choices. But obviously, if it's an enforced evacuation and you're being guided out the door, that's a whole different scenario that needs to be looked at. So,
right. I mean, let's look at the knock-on effects. Let's look at the effects. So, most people prepare for a blackout when we talk about prepping. Okay, grid down's a very strong possibility when it comes to World War III. It's fought in a very different way, whether that's direct attacks on infrastructure like we've seen in Ukraine and things like that, or whether it's cyber attacks from unknown actors in advance of any sort of attack. Most people on here are prepared for a power cut. But are they prepared for a month of digital darkness? Alan, the cash gap, if banking system totally goes down 30 days, do you have enough physical currency in small denominations to buy essentials from like the shops that would stay open, or a potential black market that we could see spring up? Because obviously we know all the supermarkets will instantly close. Do you have anything in place for that?
A very, very small amount of cash. To be honest, I'm one of those people who basically never uses cash anymore. I stopped using cash years ago. I use my phone. I don't even have a card. I don't even know what it is.
He's one of those. Oh,
My feeling would be
It's been demoted again.
if we were at the point where the banking system was entirely down, so that nobody was getting any kind of physical currency, everybody would be in a similar circumstance. So it would be a case of adapting to that reality. I don't think I would be standing outside Lidl saying, please, I can only use my phone, while people are in there with physical cash saying, well, tough luck. I think it would be impossible to do that because none of the systems in Lidl would work. So cash would be redundant anyway. You know,
I think main supermarkets would close the doors. We know that because the staff wouldn't be there. They don't like adding things up, but smaller shops would. I think the main point in this is the black market side of things, the trading side of things. This isn't Teotihuacan or SHTF where everything's going to be gone. It's a small period of during conflict. So to your neighbor, cash is still got some value. If you said, I'll give you a tenner for this kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really tend to keep cash lying around the house, to be honest. I've got very small denominations of precious metals, tiny amounts, and to be honest, I wouldn't get a good exchange rate for that. You know, I'd be doing myself out of money by trading that for just food, for example. What I do have though is probably a bit of an excess of equipment, you know, which could be of use, and I think people would very quickly realize some of that stuff is useful, and I could maybe do some sort of trade, some barter. I'm lucky enough, I'm kind of at an age and fitness level as well where I could probably see an angle as to how to either
earn that extra stuff,
earn that extra money. There would be ways and means of doing that, and if that all failed, you know, I'm not going to starve because
Alan's renting his body out now. Disasters. The first cyber attack you've turned into.
I've got some tight-fitting clothes.
Oh God!
How did I know? How did I know? As soon as he said that, I knew I saw Brian's brain ticking over as you were speaking.
See, the thing with money is useless if the system is down. The only thing I really need money for right now is because I need to pay my mortgage. I need to buy food with it. That's the only two things I need to do. If the banking system's down and money's useless, nobody's getting my mortgage money. And nobody's going to be coming knocking at my door. And from a food point of view, because I rely more on skills as opposed to having, you know, cash squirreled away, I think I could source my own food that way for a foreseeable period of time.
Okay, fair enough. Similar question, Brian. Actually, before I do that, Rockstar Chef Dora with a 1999 super chat. Hello, preppers. Happy Sunday. War or not, we ready. Thank you very much, Rockstar. You are a rockstar.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. So yeah, Brian, cash gap, 30 days. All the systems offline. Based on this, on day 31, everything's going to be back up. All right. So it's a stopgap.
Couple of problems, right?
Okay.
If everything digital's down, you've no way of telling everybody that in 31 days everyone's going to be back up and running. So people will have lost their minds after day 7, with the shops shut and there's no digital infrastructure and no news.
You're getting bombarded. The world radio news is still on. Everything's still working. It's like a cyber attack on the cash infrastructure, right? So you're getting the constant, everything's going to be fine. We're working on it.
So you've still got power.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you've still got power.
The last place I would go then would be a shop within those 30 days, unless it was your local corner shop, and I have got some money for that, but that would be the early days of it, because after the early days, even your local corner shop that's willing to take the money and put the prices up, they ain't going to do that, because somebody desperate with no money will have went in and robbed them.
Mm-hmm.
If they're willing in today's society to walk brazenly into a shop and lift bottles and walk out the door because there's nothing going to happen to them, what do you think will happen on that kind of event? They would cut your head off for it. So I don't think the risk versus reward is going to make them keep the doors open. And after 7 days of that sort of shit, you would be foolish to leave your home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you believe the government, who's always been so trustworthy in looking after our interests, that in 31 days everyone's going to be fine. Would you expect them to tell you the truth?
Oh yeah, everything's always going to be fine. Everything will be going to be fine as the cigar tubes with fire coming out go over the top of the skies. Any good prepper has a crank radio. You said that, and I was just looking around because mine's at the back of there. I'm not going to dig it out, but yeah.
Any good prepper's got 4 of them.
All right, okay, yeah. Well, you've got 4 of everything, so
that's not true. It's slightly true.
Barry, financial wise, payments, blackout, complete money darkness. Do you have something in place for that?
Yeah, I've got a fixed amount of small notes and coins, etc., that I keep stashed away, and I've got.
I do. They're in the
quite
Monopoly game.
Quite a few.
That's a good idea. That
the small barter items as well, just in case somebody turns around and says, "No, I don't want no cash. What else have you got?" So I've got means and ways of acquiring stuff if I need to. So yeah,
excellent. So the other thing that can happen is the gas and electricity can be cut. So we have to prepare. We have to prepare for cooking and heating our food, not just storing our food. We have to be prepared for cooking indoors. So, Brian, talk us through the safe, sensible procedure for cooking indoors during a power cut. He's like, I just turn all my power banks on and everything works like normal, so fuck you guys.
Kind of, but they're seasonal. You're not that far from the truth there, but seasonal dependent would depend how I would cook. If it's the summertime where I would have an abundance of spare power,
it's always in the middle of winter. It's sod's law.
Absolutely. Summertime, I would use an induction hob because that doesn't use unreplaceable resources like gas cans, ethanol, anything like that. Wintertime, if I've got no abundance of power, which is highly likely because of limited solar, I would use one of the gas cooking stoves in a well-ventilated area. And yeah, batch cook. So everybody's having the same. It would be hobo stew or whatever, pasta, meatballs, all that good stuff. Comfort foods, stodgy, lots of calories, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Brings its own problems when you're well-ventilated area. The smell, right? We need to be aware of the smell. I need to be wary where you're putting your tins or your jars or your packaging because people might see that.
So JP joined me on the open mic thing I did last night, random, spontaneously. And JP said he started, because he got one of the vacuum sealers, one of the chamber ones. He started pre-cooking like the proteins, like steak and stuff like that in the season and all that, and then vacuum sealing the meals. So essentially in SHTF, it's a boil in the bag meal, which removes that odor risk.
The dehydrator place that I buy stuff from, they do like Christmas dinners and stuff. You can buy full meals that have been freeze dried.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We really need to get a freeze dryer. My wife's watching. We really need to get a freeze dryer. If you loved me, you would let me buy a freeze dryer. Right? I'm just going to throw that out there.
I'd let you buy one, Brian. I'd let you buy.
See?
Thank you. Great Gala, who is coming off the back of his birthday. Happy birthday for the other day because you weren't in the live stream when we wished it to you. Are we saying that if you don't have a crank radio and you're not a proper prepper, oh, well, it was lovely knowing you. You better have a wind-up radio, Gala. If you don't, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring you one. I'm going to bring you one for the meet. That's my present to you. You get a
swap it for
radio.
Pies.
I'll swap. Yeah, there you go. You bring me 2 pies, I'll bring you a wind-up radio. It's a good deal. barter system's already kicked in for the Scottish pepper meat. Barry, for somebody that doesn't have half of the national grid in power banks in his house, what's your cooking plan?
I've got a few power banks, but I've also got some stoves. I've got a barbecue setup I can use outside. You know, the stove that you took to Scottish Prepper Meet last year,
The rocket stove.
the grey bucket thing with the door on it.
Yeah.
Got one of those as well.
Yeah,
I've
Zoom.
Yeah, I've got multiple methods of cooking, and I've got the good old MREs. You know, dump them in hot water, heat them up, and there you go.
So, I mean, there's an inherent risk with barbecuing and the rocket stove outdoors. Obviously, we talked about smells and drawing attention. What would it be for you to stay inside? Is it just like the camping stove with ventilation?
Yeah. See, it. Obviously, you've got to be careful of carbon monoxide, etc. But as you say, just keep it well ventilated. I mean, I've got a couple of small solar fans that I can sort of put on windows at either side of the house to blow a draft through to, you know, make sure there's a good airflow. So, yeah.
The people that die from carbon monoxide from these little gas cookers are the people at festivals who decide to put it in a little 2-man dome tent and heat it all night to try and keep themselves warm. All right. If you're just cooking up and boiling some water, then cooking an MRE, it's not going to emit enough. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
It's a bit of a oh my god, you're doing that inside. Yeah, okay. You enjoy surviving. Alan, every time I say that, I feel like the gopher. Alan.
Please don't do that with your hand.
That's what I do to gophers.
I think, see, when it comes to cooking in this kind of scenario, I mean, if I was to take all of the sort of liquid fuel that I've got, camping gas, and all this kind of stuff lying around, and genuinely, if I was just to cook one meal a day with that stuff, I'd probably get 2 weeks worth of cooking out of that, and then it would run out. I don't have power banks apart from the type for mobile phones at the moment, so I wouldn't be able to last particularly long on that scale. That said, the cooking aspect of it for me doesn't seem like much of a problem, because you don't need to heat all your food, right? If you've got food that you can eat without heating, a tin of spaghetti hoops, don't heat that up. Don't waste the fuel doing that. Conserve that fuel for cooking things like raw meats. If you somehow acquire some raw meats, you know, pasteurizing water, if we get to a stage where we're having to do that kind of thing, I would just rough it for a while with the cold stuff and go with that. And then at a very, very last resort, I would resort to the barbecuing type sort of cooking, along with, I imagine, most other neighbors in my sort of neighborhood. You know, so having a barbecue in the garden at this point wouldn't be an unusual thing. I think you would probably see barrows with a fire in them in the middle of the road in most towns in Britain at this point, and that would just be the normality. So, I mean, smells and things like that are an issue. I seen somebody in the comments, I think it was John, where he was talking about buried caches. Mm-hmm. If you don't already have buried caches, you should at least think about locations where you think it would be a good idea to have buried caches. That way, if you are a prepper who's got an excess of stuff and you get to a point where you're concerned about your neighbour smelling your food, think about where you can hide that food at least. To spread, even if you're not bugging out, at least have somewhere a couple of miles away that you can, in the middle of the night, take a decent supply of some of your more valuable stuff and bury it. You know, why not do that? Spread, just in case you know something should happen to your main place of residence. But by this point we would all be living in one room in our house now anyway. That would be the normality, you know. So we would be in, I don't know, astronaut mode, where we're literally conserving everything we can and we're living out of one room, and everybody would be in the same boat, and you would have to adapt to the situation from there.
Yeah,
I'm not moving in with you anymore, Alan. Sitting in one room eating cold spaghetti hoops, you're no selling it. I'm sorry.
I mean, in Alan's defense, if you heat spaghetti hoops up within 2 minutes, they're ice cold again anyway, so it is a waste of fuel. As soon as you get them onto the kids' plate and get them in front of them, that's it. They're already stone cold. Gatwick Scuba, I have at least 12 months worth of freeze-dried now, working through the hoops to set up a freeze-dried business in the UK.
Oh, well
Let
done.
me tell you, Gatwick Scuba,
Excellent.
the best way to promote that is to contact influential YouTubers like these 4 people here. Send us lots of free stuff and we'll plug it for you. Just, obviously honest reviews, but just throwing that out there. It's a good marketing technique.
Send it
Today in
to
the
Mike, he's got
BBC,
more
4
mouth to
prominent YouTubers were killed by botulism.
Prominent YouTubers.
Hey, mate, I'm bumming us up. 2,500 subscribers.
He saw you down there, Brian, and Alan thought, I'm going to stick the boot in.
Yeah. He's only been monetized a week and he's already looking down on me.
Well, I'm waiting for that Mr. Beast money, which is going to come in any day now.
Oh, God.
Oh, Alan will have his own chocolate bars by the end of the year.
But that's
anyway,
interesting with Scuba Steve. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Genuinely,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Definitely. There's a few of us that would definitely like to be involved with all that kind of things. Water production, right, is another issue to talk about, and not what you've got stored, right? So not bottled water. That's gone. Brian, your container sprung a leak in the night and they're all empty.
All of them?
Yeah.
After your luck.
It was the straight arrow from one of your neighbours testing a crossbow that went through the bottom of all 4 barrels.
Don't go there.
The question is, I'll start with you this time, Barry. The closest raw water source to your house, and what is your methodology of collection, bringing it back, and filtering, making sure it's safe to drink?
Okay. I've got at least 2 streams and a small-ish river that I've got access to. As for collection, I've got multiple sort of plastic 5-gallon containers that I can, fill up. I can leave in situ if I need to, and then go back and collect. And then the actual sort of filtration and processing. I've got gravity filters, live straws. I can always boil. I've actually acquired a filter setup which should be plumbed into a house, but I'm thinking I might be able to jerry rig that into some sort of standalone system for actually doing on-site purification as well.
Do you mean like the run-through systems that where
the sort that connect into the main pipes and everything? I've got filter cartridges and everything, so
pretty sure as long as you're running like a water source through a pipe, you can put them through that filters. I've got a sort of battery-powered drill attachment, which is a pump, which will be able to force the water through the pump as if it were going through normally. So I should get a reasonably steady flow rate from that. Okay, interesting. Good stuff. Alan, water. All the water in the house is gone. Taps have run dry.
Yeah, I mean, kind of
bear in mind, this is for your whole family, not just you and your grill. Just throwing that out there.
I could probably get most of my water from that point of view as well, maybe. Yeah, it would be a case of pasteurization. It'd be a case of using local streams in order to boil off the water as much as possible. Do you know, I seen an interesting thing today in the news where it was talking about Iran. Even with the conventional weapons that are being used in Iran just now, Tehran just now's air pollution is so toxic that the rain that's happening there, because they're bombing fuel depots and even commercial targets, all the pollutions, all the things that's going up in the atmosphere. There's pictures all over the internet just now of the black cloud that's over Tehran.
Rain, yeah.
All that crap has to come down, and it would contaminate all of the land and the water sources in and around your area. So even pasteurizing it as in boiling water wouldn't be sufficient in order to remove a lot of that contaminant. So you really have to pay attention to the kind of area that you live in and think about it from the point of view as taking away nuclear weapons. Even if I was attacked today with conventional weapons and that place went up in smoke for the next week, how badly contaminated would all my water around me be? And in my case, it would be horrendously contaminated. And it would be for probably a good 8 or 9 miles square of where I live. So the little streams that I've got in my head just now that I'm thinking about that I can easily wander off to and bring back buckets of water would probably be fairly useless to a point of just boiling. I would need more purification in order to make that safe. And like you rightly say, even with my Grail and the one other water filter that I have, that wouldn't be enough to sustain a whole family for more than probably a month. You know, I would have to seriously think about then moving further away or hoping the pollution levels got to a safe standard. Plus, if we were in a war, we're talking about hypothetical wars here. It's a very, very slight, tiny possibility, but there is a concept that the Russians had during the Cold War where a third world war could be fought with the West with conventional weapons. We just all agree not to use nukes. But that still means we're getting massive missiles smashing into our power plants and all the likes of it. So we could have radioactive contamination like they have in Ukraine, and that would also seep into water sources, and that can't be easily purified or filtered out. So you have to pay attention to locally where you're at and maybe rethink, because that crystal clear water, that stream that's coming out of the side of the hill right now, will it still be crystal clear when 2 miles up the road, the massive industrial unit that produces chemicals for agriculture gets blown up? Probably not.
Well, yeah, I mean, so what's your plan in that scenario? Is it chemical filtering then on top of the normal filtering? Would it be filtering in tablets? Would it be bleaching the water? What would you go to be there?
In my case, genuinely, because of the area that I live in, if all of the main industrial areas were so badly damaged and destroyed that I thought all of the groundwater in and around about my area was that contaminated, I would move area. That would be one of my bug out scenarios, and there's very few of them because, like you guys and like probably most sensible people, I would bug in literally till the very last minute, before I ventured off anywhere else. But if it wasn't as bad, if the contamination I deemed to be reasonable but still contaminated, then it would be a case of trying to utilize as much of the stuff as I've got as possible. So it would be a case of using my Grails and things like that to purify the water. I would put things into buckets, and then I would try and boil off huge buckets full of a barrel's worth of water at a time in an outdoor fire in my garden, and then utilize that. And I would also use rain catchment in the hope that there wasn't plumes of smoke all over the place, and that water was safe. But the means for me to test how safe the water is something I lack. So I might actually take a look at investing in some ways of testing water.
Water strips,
water testing. I don't have that. I might have some under the sink from like a fish tank that I once had, but I would have to learn how to use it properly. And there are a couple of filters on the market that filter out radioactivity, small amounts. Grails don't do that. There is one that does that I'm aware of, but whether it really does or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to test the theory.
No,
big thank you to Dios, another one of our friends from across the pond, for this 1556 or 1556. You need to wheel your charcoal grills indoors and cook your food and warm your home at the same time in a grid down scenario.
Just breathe it all in.
Yeah.
Get a good night's sleep after it.
It'll put hair on your chest. Cheers, Dios. Thank you for the advice. The people that take that advice, that's called natural selection. So, Brian, water, everything's gone. What's the plan?
Bummer.
Where's it from? And how are you getting it home? And what are you doing with it?
So there's an artesian spring about a quarter mile that way. It's a known fresh water. It's filtered through a big bloody granite hill, and it's been there since Roman times. So that is a good known source of water that you could utilise. As far as getting it to here, that could be as simple as shopping trolleys full of containers or repurposed prams and buggies. That's assuming your vehicles aren't working. But ways and means. It's a relatively short distance.
Yeah.
Filtration, other forms of collection as well. Sorry, I keep about 20 of the little orange buckets from B&Q because they were cheap. They were like £1 at the time, so I bought lots of them. Put them all round about in the garden, let them fill with water. I've got rainwater collection set up on the drain pipes. It's plugged up. You just unplug it, put the pipe in, and put that into some barrels. There's tarps in here for doing rainwater collection and capture that way. There's a couple of life straws there. There's the lifesaver jerry can there. There's water testing kits over here. So that would be my kind of thoughts.
Cool, good stuff. That's I mean, it all centers around this core of prepping that we've always spoke about. So it kind of falls into that. It's just making sure people are thinking about all these bases, because when we say prepare for war, people's probably tuned in thinking we're going to tell them how to make guns out of crayons or stuff like that. You know, it's blow darts out of McDonald's straws. It's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about surviving kind of thing. Over 300 people watching at the moment, which is absolutely awesome. Thank you for being here. Whichever channel you're watching on, please do take the time at some point to go around to each channel: UK Urban Prepper, World Survivalist, Brown Coat Prepper, and Scottish Prepper 73, and give them a like and a subscribe and stuff like that, because it does help everyone out and they give up their time for this. So great to see so many of you in here. The downside is I cannot keep up with the chat. I'm trying, I can't. So if there's a super chat, I will stop for it. But your questions, I'm afraid we'll try and get some in at the end, but I apologize. I'm going to miss loads today. Right. Right. Here's a question.
See, just quickly before you ask that question, just because I thought about it, it might be a good idea for people to put a little plan in place for how to make a substantial gravity filter in their backyard if they can do so. You can do that really easily with, see, like one of those plastic blue barrels that a lot of us have. You cut the top of it off, turn it upside down, put a structure in place, and then with the layering system that you can easily find out about using sand, gravel, charcoal, etc., you can put huge buckets of water in there from a stream. And it's rudimentary. It isn't going to purify the water, but it will at least filter it, and you'll be able to get huge quantities, you know, at a time. So if you've got a family of 3 or 4, that's a very good last resort, I think, as well. There's no harm in at least making the plan. You don't need to build the filter, but at least put the plan together just now.
Yeah,
you can print off the sheets of how to do the layers, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's like it's levels of coarseness, right? So you start with like a sheet of cotton, then you've got cotton wool, then like sand, and then small pebbles, your charcoal, things like that, and it kind of layers that way.
Yeah. And the larger the filter, the more you're going to get out of it as well, and the less you're going to have to change it. So it's a worthwhile thing to do, and it would probably take one man, you know, an afternoon to construct if he had the plan and the barrel in place, and then he could just source the materials. It's not a difficult thing to make.
There you go. Good advice. Cheers for that, Alan. Appreciate that.
Nice one.
So, Brian.
Oh no.
SatNav and Google Maps are jammed or spoofed.
Yes.
So do you have a physical A to Z of the country, a prearranged rally point for family that doesn't require a phone call? So do you have physical maps? Can you use them? And is there plans in place?
I have physical maps, but I've also got a large ordnance survey map that's about the size of a poster that covers here and the surrounding area, the villages and towns, out to about 40 square miles, something like that. So it's pretty good. That being said, I know a lot of the local area anyway, but I've still got that there. As far as a rally point and things go, no. And do you know why? Because apart from my older brother, who's only about half a mile up the road, as far as my family goes and friends, they're the only ones that, apart from you guys obviously, but apart from they're the only ones that actually
that old
prep.
chestnut.
smooth. So they're the only ones. He's the only one that actually preps and would actually be interested in a rally point. And we've got comms in place and that kind of thing. But my daughter, who's about a mile and a half up that way, she thinks Dad's nuts. My other daughter thinks Dad's nuts, and my son suffers me. So, yeah, there's no point in a rally point.
they think you're nuts, but if it happened and suddenly their normalcy bias is shattered, they would know to return home, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only problem would be getting home, and it would only be so my mother daughter that lives with her partner and my granddaughter, they are not a million miles away. If they had to, it's walking distance, albeit they're leaving their stuff there. But I've made provision, if need be, for family plus, that they'd be fine. They'd be looked after here. But I've got maps. I've got an idea in my head how it would work. But until something went wrong and they felt under the pressure to come here and realise that Dad's not off his meds, then there's no point in a plan because they would never stick to it. That is, I think that's a fairly, you'll find that's probably going to be a common problem for all preppers, that as far as getting a plan for, although people will joke, we'll just come to your house, most people don't have a plan in place for shit hits the fan, what they would do other than run about like a headless chicken.
And how to get there, how to contact anything. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and that is a problem.
Yeah, and you can't convince them otherwise.
Sadly not.
Barry, sat nav hacks into stuff like that, GPS, all that lot. Is would you have physical maps in place? And
yeah, I've got a couple of specifically printed ordnance survey maps for the area. I've got generic countrywide A to Z. Everybody that I would need to get to, or they would need to get to us, are all pretty much within walking distance, time-wise, within 1 day. So, yeah, everybody's pretty clued up as to if anything happens, right, start making your way. This is the path that you're going to go. This is the route you're going to take. Should take about this amount of time. Yeah, we got those bases covered. The wife and I had that discussion again a few days ago, to be honest. So, yeah, all good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm not going to ask you, Alan. If you can't read a map, you've got the wrong name.
Do you know? We at least have the advantage in this country of it not being a particularly big country. You know, we generally, most people without an ETZ
advantage, disadvantage.
Well, that's the one advantage of at least most of us could probably get plonked anywhere in the country and told, okay, that way's north, that way's south, if you can work that out. And we kind of know every major city, at least from that point upwards or downwards. And most of us have probably traveled the length of the country at some point. So, you know, in a car without a map or anything, I could probably still make my way somewhere if I needed to. And the signs would still exist. You know, we'd be a long way away from all the signs being taken down or fallen off. The benefit I've got, like I know you know, is I spend lots of time in the outdoors anyway. And of course, I've got dozens of OS 1 to 25,000 scale maps of I've got probably most of Scotland bar the islands. And I've got a library of these. This one here in this map case is just sitting here because I'm planning another trip. And even though I've been there 5 or 6 times in my life, this specific lock, I always like to take a physical map, and I've got a physical compass in there with me as well, because, you know, here's my compass right here, because I've never relied on digital GPS, although I've got a Garmin, which I take just for absolute emergencies, but I actually like map reading. It's fun for me. So I would have no problem doing that. And I mean, although I kind of say and joke I'm not a prepper, a few years ago I did go very heavy into the idea of having caches and a bug out route to pre-designated areas. So I've got zones and caches in places where I like to camp anyway. I know where they all are by heart. I could easily hike my way on foot to every single one of them. Right now, I could probably drive to all of them even easier without any use of a map or anything like that. But they're there. And if you understand how to read an OS map, 1 to 50,000 or 1 to 25,000 scale, you can study it with a bit more detail when you get to that place and identify valuable resources in areas that you've never been before. Because you can't see and do everything. I mean, I literally found. Did you see my video where I was walking through that big ruined sort of medieval house?
Yes, that was a good one.
I didn't know that was there. It's 25 minutes from where I live by car. You know, I'd never. I was just looking for an interesting place to go, and I came across that place. You know,
Oh no, I've gone to the strippers. How did I get here? It's the map.
But, I mean, that's the beauty of this country. I mean, we think we live in a very small place, and then there's a place like that hidden out in the woods I didn't even know about. You know, so you can be, but I would have known about it if I was near the area and I was looking at my map and I was desperately trying to find places of shelter or water or food or resource, because it's clearly on the map. But you know, it's just a little wild card there of Britain is full of places like that and interesting locations. So
have your map so you can mark that off.
Have your map so you can identify them. And I mean, if you get to a place like an area that you've designated as a bug out zone, and you're sitting there in a boffy, and you're thinking, right, I've got my cash and I'm in a boffy and I can survive here for the next 2 weeks. Okay, fine. But you're only really going to be able to sort of wander around a few miles to sort of see what's about. But if you're sitting there with a very good OS map, you can study it because you've got nothing else to do. So you can study the hell out of it and mark out points. So you're not wasting calories and energy just mindlessly wandering around looking for things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, somebody mentioned about the signs being taken down, which could happen in war. But yeah, it'll be a long time before they did that kind of thing, because it's not that kind of war. I don't think it's not conventional. It's not the risk of German troops landing at the beaches and Brian and his other old fogies fending them off.
Seasoned, thank you.
By the way, please take note of our moderators in the side chats. There's, like I say, there's 300 of you in there. I can't keep up. They will kick you out if you're saying stuff you shouldn't be, if you're antagonizing, if you're saying stuff that could get yourself and us into trouble. You'll be silenced. You've been warned. Logistics is a massive knock-on effect of war, whether that war is a direct conflict with us or whether it's us within a conflict, whether it's Europe, stuff like that. In a full-scale conflict where UK was involved, the just-in-time delivery system would fail within 48 hours. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyone who doesn't know what the just-in-time delivery system is, it's basically what 90% of our supermarkets run on. It's the reason people on Scottish Islands nearly starved, because the co-op couldn't get a delivery.
And
Stuff
most
like
of
that.
Western Europe as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we've always got to think about like how far ahead we plan for that, making sure we get the stuff that we eat, not just stocking random things. With military conflict, it was interesting because I spoke to Anna from Ukraine, and the first couple of weeks, problems like this, couldn't get anything. After that, they've not had a problem. Like, the stuff's been there, shops have been open, stock's been in it. There's certain things they can't get, and there's certain products they can't get, but the shops have reopened and things carried on as normal. So with that in mind, how long should people think about stocking food for a military kind of conflict for what we're potentially entering at the moment? Is the government guidance of a few days sufficient? 7 days, 30 days, a year? What are we talking here, and what's realistic for people to start with? So that's open. You guys, that's discuss.
I think
you start with what you can afford.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's different in what they've got in terms of disposable income, and everybody's different in what they risk assess the threats to be and what their pantry capacity is. I mean, they might live in a one-bedroom flat that you could swing a cat in, and they might not have or feel they don't have enough space to store things. But that's where you get creative, and under the bed and different things. There's always a way. As a minimum, for any prep scenario, it should be start off a couple of days, a week, 2 weeks, a month. Now, I think everybody in here is probably, a lot of people will be of the same mindset as no matter how much stuff you have or things or skills, you constantly add to it and you always want to get more. Personally, I wanted to get to 6 months of food for me and extended family, and I got there, but I'm trying to push further. But you don't have to do that. It's what you feel you should need.
Yeah.
how do you base the count on, Brian? Because Welsh Prepper thought he had a year's worth of food based on that's a meal, that's a meal, that's a meal, that's a meal. When he put it into the list system and based it off calories, so calories over variety, it was actually 200 and odd days. So how are you working out the time period? Are you basing it on this can is a meal? Or are you basing it on this is how many calories?
It's got to be on energy density. It's always going to be on calories. And it has to be on calories because a tin of beans with lots of carbs and some proteins might be different from some Irish stew or some stew or carrots or potatoes. You can't just go by the tin in terms of volume. You've got to go on the energy content and then the nutrients as well. You're going to 30 days in, you've got scurvy. You know what I mean? You have to stock a balanced pantry for a protracted period of time. So I try and do it for family, extended family, +2, right? But the +2 would be, I've made a switch with that. I've started buying in ration bars. So anybody that came in dire straits that I felt compelled to help, here's something that tastes like a space shuttle tile. Have a nice day.
I quite like them, so I'll be all right.
So that would be how that goes.
Yeah. No, I get that, and that's probably a really good compact way of prepping for a few extra people by getting them things. It's not going to be luxury, but at that point, it is calories over variety, and you start to think about bulk like rice, pasta, oats, peanut butter, for example, high energy, high density energy things like that. Barry, same question to you, like food wise, if it's a military conflict, what's the starting point? How do you think about it and stuff like that? While Barry's answering this, Brian, Scoob has asked if you've got the link for the water test kit you showed.
It's off Amazon. The link is on my phone, which is currently streaming. So I'll put it on. In fact, when the show's finished, I'll stick it on the community section of my YouTube channel, and there'll be a link there for you. But they're on Amazon. Yeah.
Alan, you've just got a 19.99 super chat from Rockstar Chef Dora. Says, "Hi Alan, thanks for all the replies, advice, and info." There you go.
Wow, thank you very much for that. That's much appreciated. And the biggest one I've had so far. That's really great.
Sounds like a challenge.
That's what he
Sounds
said.
like a statement. And a good night was had by all.
Barry, what food are we stocking when it comes to preparing for war?
Yeah, I mean, there's only myself and the other half. So originally I was going down the lines of that's a meal there, that's a meal there, that's a meal there, etc. But I mean, since joining the community here, obviously I've wised up a bit, and calories are king, basically, exactly like Brian has said, and he's looking at that light like it's going to explode.
Please.
I'm not. Tell you what I was looking at.
Why'd you tell him? We could have had another moment where it collapses on a live stream.
Yeah, but calories, carbs, energy density, definitely. Electrolytes, extra multivitamins, that kind of thing, protein bars, stuff that's small, compact, but delivers what you need for the right price point. And again, that's going to affect a lot of people because cash is tight, people budget, but go for the most energy density. You know what I'm trying to say. Go for the most energy dense food that you can possibly afford. You're going to eat. Don't go buying stuff that you're not going to eat because
I genuinely recommend that everyone tries the energy bars that Brian's on about. So I've not got the links, but if you go onto my Amazon wish list, which is linked to all the videos, I've linked them all, like from the one that's a standard pack for like a tenner up to the big crates of them for like 70-80 quid. I suggest if you get a chance to try one. I quite like them. Brian clearly doesn't. He said it. What did you say it tastes like, Brian?
Tastes like a tile off the space shuttle, mate.
What was the make?
I can't remember, mate. I've got.
No.
They're not even here. They're in the house because I bought some of them loose that they come in the sort of generic wrapping, and then I bought some of the Gucci ones in the ammo tin.
Yeah.
It's the ammo tin one, so it's high energy.
And they come in different flavors.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Don't do the flavors. They have a coffee flavor, which is horrendous. It's literally called high energy bar, and I think it's Peak for Ration that do it.
Yeah.
The reviews are all good,
I'll
and
take a
they
look
stay
later.
for ages.
I'll take a look
Look,
later.
they do a caramel cinnamon one here. I like the plain one. It was just like shortbread for me.
See, the thing is, the thing that I liked about them, they were relatively cheap, but they're energy dense, and more importantly, or equally as important, they don't take up a lot of space. And for the desperate, the people that you don't want to turn away, or even family that you can't afford to give them, like the Gucci food that you've got, that'll still keep them alive. It'll still be something you can give them. So that's got value for me.
I've started stocking dry dog food for the same reason.
My glamorous assistants just brought them out.
There you go. Nice.
Thank you.
Very
now
nice.
eat one. Now eat one. Do it now.
No, absolutely not.
Dance, monkey, dance.
So 6 pieces at 200 grams. So the total contents of the tins, 5,500 calories and 6 bars. So realistically, one person, that's all you were eating, 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But look how much you compare that to tins or rat packs. It doesn't take up a lot of space and it lasts for years. And I'm not saying that would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you could certainly skip a meal or supplement your meal's calories with this.
They also are great for example, let's say 6 months down the line, total collapse without rule of law. That then for me becomes traveling rations. If I was going out scavenging for the day, 2 of them in my pocket rather than a rucksack with stuff I need to cook, while I use that rucksack to put stuff in, is perfect. So I would use them as traveling rations in that case as well.
I wanted to show you something just on the subject of that, if I can segue for 1 second, to show the misconception of calories and what companies will sell you is absolute bollocks.
Oh, please be freeze-dried.
So, freeze-dried food, right? That's a 4-person kit, okay? And for 48 hours, 11,000 calories, right? And they're saying there's 55 servings in that. For who? A field mice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Realistically,
the serving size on ReadyWise was 248 calories on the most dense meal.
it's about a day and a half, not 2 days, realistically. And that's with conservative energy levels, not in the depths of winter when you need more calories. So it's handy, it's good to have, but they really misquote the servings and they don't really appreciate the calorific content that you'll require. So it's something to bear in mind. If you're going to buy loads of these things, then pay attention to the numbers, because that's what matters. The bollocks here that says 4 persons for 48 hours, you can forget that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've started stocking. I'm trying to start stocking some freeze dry. You see the potatoes behind me, but I'm looking at stuff like this and stuff like the mac and cheese, because all the family likes mac and cheese, and the idea is not that this 200 calorie meal is ever going to be the meal. It'll have, with a can of Spam chopped up thrown into it, it's suddenly a very calorie dense meal kind of thing. It would be supplemented. That would be the main thing. Yeah, Alan. Food, you don't stock loads and loads of food and stuff like that, but if impending war was there, how much do you think you'd want to get in?
If impending war was there, then I would go to town on getting as much calorie dense stuff as possible. So I would be focusing on things like olive oils, porridges, oats, rice, pastas, all those kind of things, flour, because I can make I think I can make 5 different types of bread. Even the easiest bread is just a mix of flour and water. And bake that, you'll get a flatbread, but it's you'll get something out of that at least. And because war would be so imminent, I wouldn't be too bothered about the fact that I'm spending all my money on these very bland,
Exactly.
but nutrient dense sort of foods. I mean, what the hell else have I got money for? Also, if my bank is about to be wiped out, max a credit card out. I'll worry about the debt of the credit card in a couple of years' time if we're really at that stage. So I really would spend as much as I possibly could on those kind of dense foods, and I would start squirreling stuff away. I would start burying things in barrels and random fields nearby and things like that, just in the off chance that I should need that. I don't want to be the guy sort of 3 years down the line where we're all impoverished and we're scraping around for tiny little bits of scrapings of rice from the government or something. That said, something else I think everybody should do, I've done this a lot because it's like a little bit of a hobby for me. Just pay attention to local foraging resources that you've got in your area, seasonal resources, because the more you can supplement these foods, especially from a vitamin content point of view, the better. Because it's okay. I believe a lot of preppers genuinely think you can get terrible sort of tinned food, and then as long as you've got some vitamin C tablets and some vitamin D tablets, that'll somehow substitute your vitamin deficiencies, and it might do from the point of view that you stay alive, but it's not healthy. I mean, those tablets are manufactured and dense and full of fillers and chemicals and other crap. You're far better off getting your vitamin C and things like that from food sources. If you can get that from natural food sources, all the better. So where I live relatively close to the coast. There's sea buckthorn all over the coastline. It's a very identifiable year round. That's the key thing. It grows all year round, and it's packed full of vitamin C. It has all the different omega fatty acids in it. It's calorie rich, and it's a very easy, accessible. I could just walk over to it and get it, no problem. Tastes terrible. It tastes very sour. It's like an orange berries that you consume, sea buckthorn, but I can substitute that to other meals. And there's other things you can do on the side to substitute your meals from a hunting point of view. Learn how to make some basic snares, and then go into a local woodland and put them everywhere. Make traps. If you have any fishing gear and you live close to the coast, do that. Buy a lobster pot, keep it at the bottom of your garden, because you don't need much to a little bit of bait, and you throw a lobster pot literally off the side of the shore at low tide. You're going to catch crabs. You're going to catch lots of crabs that way, and you can substitute crab meat into your food as well. Have rat and mice traps. You could buy them from B&Q. I've got a bunch of them down here that I can probably grab and show you, but everybody knows what they look like. They're a couple of pounds. You can set them up, put a little bit of bread in them. You're going to catch a pigeon. You're going to catch a crow. Might sound terrible, but I tell you what, if we're at the point where we're eating bread and rice, catching a pigeon in your garden from a little piece of bread and adding that to your meal, you're going to really appreciate that, and that's going to keep you healthier for longer. So I'm all about try and find the natural resources. There is the possibility for everybody in this country, even at our current density, to live somewhat off the land. We just wouldn't be able to live off, the luxury. You're not getting no bananas or nothing, and you're not getting year-round fruit. But if you're clever, you can do things like collect seasonal carbohydrates, fruits, and nuts, and catch some game, especially small birds, mammals, animals, all those kind of things, before you move on to the dog.
Yeah. Oh, can't remember.
See the space shuttle tile? It's good up until 2045. You'll be glad to know.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. You chomp down on them. I'll be giving this shit away.
I'll be at the gates.
even these tiny little mouse traps. I've got some rat-sized ones as well. But see these tiny little mouse traps? They cost almost nothing on Amazon. You can buy them in bulk, and then just drill a hole at the end and put some cord round it, like I've done here, so the bird doesn't fly away. You catch a pigeon with that, no problem.
Nice. There we go. Lots of pigeons on strings. That's where Alan's house is. They're just all like kites in the garden trying to fly away.
It's only weird if I do it just now, but if I do it in the apocalypse, I'm the smart one.
Nobody messes with the pigeon guy in the apocalypse. Defiant Fox says the sad fact is if it's a nuclear attack, most of the country will perish due to the lack of shelters, whereas Sweden had enough nuclear fallout shelters to double their population. Not entirely true, Defiant Fox. I'm going to have to disagree with you, because every time one of these media outlets puts out these oh, look at this map. These are the targets. And they put these giant blast markers on and stuff like this. They're using Tsar bombs and they're using ridiculous size yield megaton things. If nuclear was used on the UK, they wouldn't waste huge, massive things like that. It'd be small strategical strikes.
Yeah.
Brian's toast. We've already established that. So's Alan. They're in a lovely little central belt. So
I'll have
you
a
want to
rosy
see
glow
my-
about me.
Do you want to see my face for when the bombs are coming?
go on. One last Pepsi.
Can of Pepsi.
But the sad truth is, most of the population won't perish. They'll perish in the long term afterwards. Because it won't be huge megatons. It's not the giant English maps that you see everywhere where they've got red and there's only like one little bit that's not affected, because they're going to be these tiny half megaton and single megaton charges that are hitting tactical points. So just be careful with thinking, oh yeah, it's all just going to be over. You might be forced into a survival situation. Cool. Right. We've done food, logistics, security. Okay, so this is what everyone wants to talk about. This is to a degree. Now, disclaimer, everything we say is theoretical. Everything is in worst case without real law scenario. Nothing we say should be taken as gospel advice. And anything we may show you may or may not exist. So the first point of security I want to put out there is the one that I always kick up the arse or kick down the curb, is grey man. The grey man strategy. Don't let your house be the only one with a loud generator, bright lights is quite kind of obvious, you know, don't stand out like that. But actually grey man in it and looking like it's already loot and stuff, I think it's a double-edged sword where you could end up, you know, inviting refugees into a home that you're occupying. And being a grey man, like dressing up in the grey man clothes and walking around thinking nobody's going to notice you, I think is a myth as well. So I want to put the grey man theory out there. Anyone an advocate of it? Anyone want to jump on that one?
Do you know, I kind of see the concept of it. But like you said, there's so many videos of people literally putting on a grey hoodie and then walking with their head down in the street, with their tactical bags somehow for some reason, saying, "Look, I'm kind of blending in, and I'll move my way through the crowd like Jason Bourne, and nobody's going to notice me." That
He's more noticeable than anybody else in that crowd that's just walking doing the regular thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is but there's the cosplay type thing as well. You know, if you want to make your way through a crowd of football hooligans, look like a football hooligan, shout and scream as you go, but as you're sort of slightly moving out of the way, try to get to the exit, at the other side. You can kind of do that to an extent. To me, the concept of grey man is kind of just blending into the background, but that doesn't mean being separate from everybody around you. It means kind of imitating, like a cuttlefish, everybody around you to an extent. I would be standing in the food queue at the government handout zone in a food shortage situation, even if I had plenty of food, because I wouldn't want to be that guy in the street. I wouldn't want to be that guy in the street who wasn't. Well,
I'd rather take the food from babes. Oh, shocking.
Well, do you know what? I would take the food because, one, why wouldn't you? Because it's about self-preservation after all. And two...
What about Mike's 500 kids?
400 of which I know about.
If you live in a very small town and you're the only guy not in the food queue, people are going to want to know why. So to me, simply being there is grey manning. That's grey man to me. Going onto a bus and sort of minding your own business and sitting at the back of the bus and being observant but not sticking out like a sore thumb, just being normal, not acting shifty, not having a 511 bag, just having a normal big red school bag or something. That to me is grey man. I think that's sensible. I don't think that's out of the ordinary.
The reason I fight the grey man thing, okay, so let me put my point out there, is the reason I fight it is I've got camouflage gear, right? I've got MTP jackets, DPM jackets, stuff like that, Fleckton. I've got the camo nets. I've got everything like that. Not got a sniper veil yet, though, Alan. You know, we've established this.
Yeah.
But I've got all that stuff, and I'm in an urban environment. So you'd think, well, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb, right? Go in Manchester, go in London, and just stand there for an hour with a coffee, look around, see how many camouflage jackets you spot in that hour. Loads.
Yeah.
Absolutely loads. It's not an unusual thing for somebody to walk around in camouflage. It's just not an unusual thing anymore.
Yeah.
Difference being, if I choose my bug out route, which I have done multiple ones, which happen to run along green belts within urban areas, so there's plenty of foliage, even though it's an urban area, I can blend in if I need to. And I would rather have that ability to do that than walk around looking like I'm a regular city goer, suddenly not able to hide anywhere.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. I don't see the, it's the argument when people say, oh, but if you dress like a commando, people are going to target you because they're going to think you've got good stuff. No, they're fucking nuts.
Yeah.
If you're walking around like a grey man after the apocalypse, knowing with a bag, no matter what you're wearing, they're going to target you.
I think the concept of grey man is dependent on at what level of emergency you're in. I mean, if we're talking about the apocalypse, nobody cares what a person looks like. I mean, the only thing I can think of where being head to toe in camouflage might draw attention is if there's militaries around. People will mistake you for the military, and that might be a good thing or a bad thing. You know, dressing like a policeman isn't going to let you blend in. It's going to attract attention, rightfully or wrongfully. I mean, the thing. I mean, it's weird because I try to blend into my surroundings when I go out and about as well. I don't really like camouflage. I'm not a big camouflage type guy. But all of my clothing is black and green and brown and that kind of stuff because I want to blend into the places I go. But I also don't want to stick out completely like a sore thumb. You'd be amazed how often I sometimes just put my work high-vis vest on, which I've got in the car, when I go into a petrol station, because nobody cares about a workman dressed head to toe in sort of khakis and sort of scruffy, dirty-looking clothes. They just assume I'm some sort of worker, not a guy creeping around the woods. That said,
which you are in reality.
That's it. You really can draw. I did a trip a few years ago to Switzerland with a friend, and we did a lot of camping in the Alps. Actually, I mean, and interesting places. And none of us were dressed like soldiers, but we had outdoor clothing on, and everybody else was wearing skiing clothing that we came across, and we could not have stuck out more. It was unbelievable, the looks that we got, and people actually asked us if we were in the army, even though we're just wearing kind of green and blacks and things like that. We stuck out to no end. It didn't matter that we could blend into the woods because most of the time we were going between places. And so a more sensible thing for us to have done would have been to at least take a ski jacket, a red one or something, and just put it on when we were passing through those areas, and then take it off and put it in your bag when you get to the place you want to blend in. That's grey man. You're grey manning your way through the area you want to grey man your way through, and then you can go into commando mode when you get into the woods if that's what you want to do. Yeah.
I get that, but I just think within the UK, you can grey man in full camouflage. I've been to my local Sainsbury's in my Kit Pimp MTP jacket, and if anyone's seen it, the pockets are all loaded, so it looks like it's a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man when it's fastened up and stuff like that. And nobody batted an eyelid. Nobody looked at me funny. Even the security didn't look at me. I had enough pockets on that to fill half an aisle of Tesco into it, or Sainsbury's into it.
But I bet they did draw. I bet it did draw attention though. People are just too polite. I mean, nobody's going to walk up to you and say, "Why are you wearing that?"
I'm very observant. Nobody gave a second glance.
I mean,
it's Manchester. You're likely to see somebody in there in a pink bra and a blue haircut and a kilt and on an average Wednesday. So I would.
Oh, it's a Labour supporter.
Yeah, most of them.
I mean, it's true. I mean, it does come down to sort of what I am kind of a fan of the grey man concept if it's done correctly. But like you say, you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff. Weirdly enough, right? I'm not plugging it, but I do have a video update of a jacket I like to wear in the outdoors. It's the M65 jacket. For anybody who knows what that is, it's kind of like the old school military jacket. Rambo wore it. I've got a black version of that. Years ago, I did a review of it, and it was very popular. I've had it for 5 years, so I've did an update review about it. But the interesting thing about that jacket is, even though it's the most generic military jacket you can possibly get, known worldwide, see if I put that jacket on with a pair of jeans and some decent boots, I could go to a bar with that. And people just think I'm a sort of retro sort of fashion statement, and they probably think it's worth 500 quid. Because there are people like that who wander around like that. And then you get people like me who just put it on and wander around the woods because it's a nice jacket. It's good for doing that kind of stuff. So there are ways of doing it. But to me, that's grey man. I still think that's grey man, if done correctly.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I get what you're saying, and I agree to a degree. I've never had an issue wearing camouflage gear. I wear it at the car boot sales. I wear it all the time. So I'm already grey manning anyway. Barry, where do you stand on this?
If you went abroad, would you wear camouflage? This is the thing. Camouflage denotes military, and that can be a problem in some places. That's why when I go abroad, I never wear camouflage.
It depends where I was going abroad, right? If I was going to like France or something like that, I think I'd treat it exactly the same as the UK. If I was going somewhere where there's likely to be paramilitaries, like if I was going to Tunisia or somewhere like in Africa or something like that, yeah, I'd probably consider not wearing something so thingy. But right now, in the city I'm in the urban environment I'm in, and it's not just this city, it's every city I go to, you see such fashion is not, everyone's not walking around with hats on in suits anymore. Like in the Victorian era, if you wore something different, you'd stand out a mile away. Now you look across a scape of people across the city centre and you'll see every type of fashion going. You'll see a cowboy here. You'll see a frigging unicorn with a tail sticking out of her ass here. You'll see army men here.
You need to stay in those bars, mate.
Sounds fantastic where you live.
Party at Mike's. But it's true. It's true. We've come to an age where there's no such thing. If you were trying to be inconspicuous, you would be the most conspicuous one in certain areas. So, I mean, where do you stand, Barry? You are dressed in grey. Your chair is grey. Dare I say your beard is grey?
That is the hair's grey. Yeah, I know.
I've linked Alan's jacket, by the way. It's very expensive.
It's monochrome Santa.
Oh God, I hate you sometimes, Brian.
I get that a lot. That's okay.
No, I've normally when I'm not at work, I've either got jeans on or I've got combat trousers on.
Mm-hmm.
They're either your standard green camouflage type trousers, or the urban ones, which are like all the different blues and blacks, etc. Especially if I'm going up the allotment, I'll have a black hoodie on, those bluish combat trousers, pair of boots, and I blend in with everybody that's around me because everybody's in work gear. I mean, military gear is tough gear, and a lot of folk use it for everyday work as well. So, I mean, to be honest, I think whether you're wearing, I mean, yeah, if you're going to go full on head to toe camouflage, then yeah, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. But if you've just got a camo jacket on, pair of jeans, boots, or camo trousers with the hoodie on and a bag slung over your shoulder, you just look like your everyday Joe going to or from work. So
I've seen loads of people at the car boot sale head to toe in DPM. Trust me, you see them and you're like, you're never getting mistaken for real military. It's just
yeah, there is that, so I mean, like folk will maybe give you a cursory glance, but then they'll dismiss it because there's so many people walking around with combats on or camo on, etc., that you're not giving a second glance.
If I'm in my jacket, I'm in my green combat pants or my black combat pants with my camouflage jacket, my boonie hat, backpack, the lot. So do you see me then as making myself a target? Or would you think that more people would avoid somebody looking like that, thinking they might know how to handle themselves? So it's a swings and roundabouts, right?
Yeah, definitely swings and roundabouts. I think as well, it depends upon who's doing the observing as well. I mean, if it's a woman dragging her kids down the street, etc., and she has a look over and you look like you can handle yourself, etc., then she's probably going to give you a cursory glance and move swiftly on. If it's a group of lads and they're looking at you, and you look like you might have something on you, regardless of whether you're in combats or civilian clothes at all, they're going to give you more than just a second glance, so.
Yeah.
So if you've got your unicorn outfit on and your tail hanging out your arsehole, you're still getting robbed, mate. That's the consensus.
That's just you, Brian.
It'd be some size of unicorn.
Oh, Bob's walking around this street dressed like a Japanese geisha girl.
Again, Bob. Again.
Again, Bob. Oh.
You ever see the Family Guy episode where they go to the cut scene of the episode of Band of Brothers, and it's all the army guys, and then right at the end it's Peter dressed as a clown. He's like, "You guys are idiots. They're going to be looking for army guys," and he's just head to toe as a clown.
Yes, yes, I've seen that.
We're overcomplicating something that's essentially common sense. Everybody's security situation and how they deal with it is going to be unique to them and their surroundings. And it should be an approach to a degree of common sense, because common sense would dictate in a city centre, walking about with gold and dripping with jewellery, even in peacetime or the best of times, is not a good idea. Whereas if you're more country living, out in the sticks, your security situation will be entirely different. It could be speculative theft or whatever, but your risks will not be the same as their risks, but you'll have risks just the same. It's just how you approach it in a common sense way. If you're out in the country, your common sense way of approaching it would be your gold is your kit, your tractor, your plough, your Gucci farm equipment. You're not going to put that out in public display for somebody to roll up with a trailer and steal it. Whereas if you've got a Rolex on or a tag watch, walking through Manchester at 1 o'clock in the morning pissed, it's a bad call. So it's just common sense.
Yeah.
I think you do have to.
Not that I've not done it, but
see, because we're talking about clothing as well, you do have to put some serious consideration into having appropriate clothing to suit the scenarios that we're talking about, like that we're likely to be in. I mean, if you're genuinely talking about bugging out, for example, in our weather, you're going to have decent clothing in order to do that. You can't just do that in a pair of jeans and a normal hoodie. That might get you by in an urban area where you've got a warm house to go back to. But if people are seriously thinking about a prolonged period of civil unrest or periods of time where you're going to be exposed to the weather or the elements, you're going to have clothing that can withstand that. Take some rough and tumble. You're not going to be saturated and freezing to death because you're wearing nothing but cotton. You're going to have footwear that can go multiple miles, not just something you can nip to the shop in. So you're going to have some sort of outfit. I mean, I genuinely have a sort of thing in mind where if it all went to hell and we were all living hiding for the Russians, Red Dawn style, I've got a uniform I would put on. It's not a real uniform, but it's an outfit.
Skin suit, innit?
It's an outfit, but it's an outfit that
it's a mini skirt, isn't it?
It's an outfit I know I can move comfortably through nature and maintain easier, and it's not going to kill me. It's not going to be a detriment to me, and everybody should.
Mike, I think it really is a miniskirt.
Well, it's just a short kilt. If it's tartan, it's just a short kilt.
If it's pleated in it and wearing knee-high socks, though, it's a different kettle of fish there.
And that's when the Fireside took a dark, sinister turn.
With 343 people coming towards this car crash. No, there is 343 people here, which is absolutely awesome, by the way. So I really do appreciate all the support. It's
probably worth mentioning, Mike. Just out of interest, we've been accused in the past of not taking prepping seriously. You can still take prepping seriously and have humour, albeit gallows humour, because in the very worst of times, if you're not laughing, it's even worse. So when we do a Fireside, it tends to be with an element of humour, and some people don't like that. Well,
I mean, look behind me, look behind Alan, look behind Brian. If we're not taking this seriously, it's a fucking expensive joke. It's cost us a fortune. So
yeah, but you can't see what's behind that blackout curtain.
I know. Yeah,
that's
look,
the whole idea.
No, I mean it is. We try and see the light side of it. We try and joke about it. You know, you've got to laugh, otherwise you'll cry with stuff like this. This is really serious stuff we're talking about. We'll genuinely give you serious advice all the time. Then we can. When we get together, we have a laugh about it. This is why the Prepper Meet's great. The 340 people in here, I bet one of you has not booked your tickets for the Scottish Prepper Meet, which are still available. Go to ukpn.org, go to the shop, and on the front page, you'll find the tickets for the Prepper Meet. £35 for the full bank holiday weekend, per pitch, not per person. So bring the whole family for a bank holiday in Scotland. There's no midgies. We've organised so the midgies don't turn up. So
Yeah, that's a lie.
I might not have done that. But £35, the whole family, bank holiday weekend. Come and join it. There's still tickets available. And I'm going to do my own plug, so screw you guys. I've put a link into my Patreon where you can win this awesome Smith & Wesson knife and head torch and about £100 worth of stuff in a mystery box as well this month if you sign up before the 10th. So
it's a very cool looking knife. We were checking that out yesterday on the other live.
I need to send you the link. It's actually it's really. I'm going to get one myself. I'm hoping whoever wins doesn't claim it. So... It's happened before. No, I'm joking. I am going to get one myself as well, though. Speaking of knives, this is where we're into chaos, right? And people saying, I'm just going to shoot somebody with my crossbow, or, you know, and things like this, right? Home security, right? Because this is what we need to talk about. None of us here, by the way, are going to divulge everything we've got. So if you think you're going to come and steal my beans, good luck, so on and so forth. We're going to talk in general terms, okay? Preppers generally are looking at bored things and bladed things, right? In general, in this country. There's other things you can get, firearm certificates, etc., but you can't have that. That's only for sporting things. So that's what generally they're looking at. Is it realistic to try and defend in any sort of way, like if it was Red Dawn kind of thing? Brian, do you think what is it? As a survivalist, do you roll over and do as you're told to survive, or is it go into the woods and Wolverines it?
If you think of the age that we live in, right? When Red Dawn, for example, since that's come up, when that was made, there was no drones flying that you couldn't see, right? Thank you, Rockstar Chef Dora. You're a legend. Thank you so much. In the world that we live in now, if you're talking about a scenario that there's hostile troops in the UK or in Scotland or where we live, right, in your local area, there'll be drones in the sky that you can't see. There'll be thermal cameras that you don't know can see your body heat. You would have to assume that every medium of communication you've got is monitored. You would have to assume that you can be seen at all times. Because the time that you guess that wrong, you could be smoking in the ground as you hear a little buzzing thing coming towards you. That is the world we live in now. And we've got a very clustered island with a lot of population centres. And if you think that you're going to go out into the woods and you'll be safe there, they can still find you. There's hundreds of thousands of dead bodies in Ukraine at the moment to prove that. And yes, you can get thermal cloaks to hang with you, to guard your signature, etc. That's good. I hope you don't roll over in your sleep then.
Yeah.
So you're faced with a lot of unpalatable choices. If you're intending to fight for your country, can I suggest you've already lost that battle if you've got foreign troops in the UK? So you're faced with the choice of an organised militia and the fact that some of you are going to die, or you live to fight another day and hope they bugger off. And in the scenario that you're purporting there, I'd choose to live and fight another day.
Okay. So I can cross you off my Wolverines list.
I'm too fat to run away from the drone. I would just go bang. There'd be 19 stone of chub and blood all over the place with little blades sticking out of me.
Funnily enough, if you want to join Brian's OnlyFans channel, it's called 19 Stone of Chub. So there you go.
I do things, baby. I do things for cash. Things you ain't gonna like. You ain't gonna like it. None.
Barry, are you joining my Wolverines?
Oh, tough
Get your
call.
plate carriers on. Come on, we didn't get them for no reason.
I mean, to a certain degree, yes, I'm obviously going to defend what I've got and where I am to a point. But then if it's a case of bugging out and then going Wolverine, quite possibly, yes.
Okay, cool. There you go.
I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to say nothing else.
Brian's the first target. He's a sympathizer. Just throwing a well-equipped.
Brian's quietly
sympathiser.
confident he'll be fine.
Just going to throw power banks at them. Alan, are you joining my Wolverines? Are you rolling over? Are you learning Russian?
I think, if we're genuinely at a point where we're being occupied in this country, I think absolutely we become some sort of partisans. We become some sort of resistance. I think that's our duty just to do that. Just
yes, Alan.
not just as proud people of this island, because it's always been the case. And the very few times that this island has been invaded by foreign forces, there has always been a resistance. Not always successful. The Romans kicked a lot of arse, and so did the Vikings, but there was resistance to it. And I think there would be now. I think even when the Germans, if they were to ever get across, there would have been partisans sort of doing their best to undermine the enemy where they can. You've seen it in occupied France. Yeah. France was pretty much entirely occupied by Germany, and people couldn't really do anything. But there was people blowing up railways. There was people making it difficult. There was people spying. There was people doing things. And that's the kind of resistance I imagine we would employ, but Brian's right. I mean, we live in we've all seen these videos. The idea of running off to the woods with your shotgun and thinking you're going to fight the Russians is not happening. A thermal drone will find you and kill you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if it's the Chinese that are invading us, they'll have swarm drones, they'll have all sorts of stuff after you. So it would be a case of doing it in plain sight. Kind of the grey man thing again, where you are doing things.
It would have to be a different form of warfare, like is waged with us, so it's exactly the same. Yeah.
There is a genuine argument for people who kind of just go with the flow. Okay, I'm occupied. In order to I'm not going to be occupied forever. The war will one day end, so I'm just going to play along, and I'll join the local sort of police force that they've set up and do that kind of thing. People did do that during the Second World War, and it didn't tend to end very good for them. Because people have long memories of the people who turned on their own people, or worse, in a lot of Jewish communities, they kind of just passively just didn't do anything, and a lot of them didn't fight back, and we've seen literally a Holocaust took place. I do have to say though, lots of them did fight back. It's often a criticism people say is, why didn't they fight back? Many of them did. There was an entire partisan movement of people. They made that film about it,
Defiant.
That whole thing, that was real. That was all true. Lots of that thing
Yeah.
happened in Poland and Belarus and places like that. I've actually visited that place. It's an incredible place. And that's an incredible example of wilderness survival in the real world. Granted, didn't have thermal drones and stuff like that, but even with thermal drones, I think you could probably still hide to some extent in those kind of places. Not so much in the UK. But, that's a long way of me saying, hell yes, I would try and fight as much as I could, where appropriate,
Yeah. Taylor T, this is where you're completely wrong, you see, because that 50 kids is my biological drone swarm that I'll send right back at them, right? You imagine 50 mini mics with little Mora knives in their hands, $5.99 each, bargain, not a problem. Just send them in a swarm. It's fine. I'm ready. I'm ready. Security is not just occupied forces. Security is obviously we have food, we provide for our families. We know that 90% of the people on our streets, in our towns, in our neighborhoods don't. And desperate fathers, desperate brothers, desperate sons will do anything to make sure their family's fed.
Yeah.
So we have to think about home security visually and physically, and when to stand and when to run away as well for our own population. Timeline on that though. Barry, do you think it'd have to be completely rule of law out the window? I mean, they're going to target. We know they're going to target Greggs and Shoe Zone before they start going door to door, right? Because that's the way the UK works. But are we a target? Is it Is it a dangerous thing? Is that going to be the case? Is neighbours going to be trying to get in?
It won't happen to start with. Like you say, it'll happen maybe a few weeks to a month or so down the line once everything has broken down properly, when there's no more rule of law, there's no more government saying, right, go to this point here and collect your rations for the week or whatever, etc. When they start going door to door, yeah, that's when things are going to start getting a bit serious. But yeah, I'd say probably about a month after it's all gone pear-shaped. That's the kind of timeline I'd be thinking of at the moment. But I mean, you guys, I mean, you may well disagree. I mean, you've got more intelligence than I have, so
Not at all.
I mean, I don't want to say yeah to the intelligence. So.
Wow, that's cold, Mike. What a crotch punch.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Thanks, Mike.
Mensa Mike puts the boot in. Yeah.
Bad timing.
Very.
You practically said Barry go sit in the corner with the hat on.
I was don't go, Barry. No, I was saying, yeah, it's a good point. The month, though, I think that I don't know if the month is too extreme. We saw people fighting over water in Spain within 3 hours. Brian, do you think blitz mentality? I want to be positive and think that communities would come together.
I think community, where you live is different from where I live. Where I live is different from where Barry lives. Human nature, by and large, doesn't change. Desperate people do stupid shit that they normally wouldn't do by motivation. If they're that desperate, you need to find a motivation to encourage them not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, neighbours can be a threat, or neighbours could be a community ally. And you'll know your neighbourhood better than anybody else. Whether that's we're talking the row of your houses, your street, your village, right? And that would be as far as I would take the concept for this discussion. But essentially, you've got to sleep. Your family's got to sleep. You don't have all the skills. You don't have all the things. Even if they've not got a lot of food next door, they have got 2 arms and 2 legs, hopefully, and that has got value all of its own. You could, for talking's sake, use your power bank with your solar panels and charge their radio for them, or something else. You could trade what you've got, maybe a couple of ration bars, for they go and chop you some logs, get you some firewood, walk down and get some buckets of water. You can't be an island.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how good your security situation is, numbers really does matter. And I'm happy to stick with the premise of 90 and 90. 90% in 90 days. If it was a really bad event, but if we're talking a conventional war, I don't think the blitz mentality and spirit of good old Blighty exists anymore, because we've got a fractured culture that has lost. But I'll expand on it.
I was just going to put in the point that if we look at Ukraine, maybe their culture was a Western culture before, and maybe similar sort of thing, and it's took the war to bring that out of them, and they are much more of a community now, where they've had to police themselves, they've had to catch the burglars in their own communities, they've had to come together when heating's going down, stuff like that. So it's kind of grown this blitz mentality by being forced into that situation.
The easiest way to answer that would be with a question. Do you think that would work in the town or area where you live in?
Small scale, my street, yes, manageable. Large scale, the town, no. Yep. Too many. There's yes, to a degree, but there's too many factions that already. I'm going to use the word factions because that's the safest way. There's too many factions that already exist that will have already come together as communities that will be enforcing their own laws.
When we wax when we wax lyrical about the
And we
blitz
wax
mentality,
Snip that clip. That's a clip bit. That.
when we wax lyrical about the good old days and the blitz mentality, and your house has been blown up, and dear old Ethel next door brings you a cup of tea. Reality check, folks, that's gone. That society doesn't exist anymore, because that society was before multiculturalism was a blue-haired woke great idea that's not a good idea and hasn't worked. So that sense of community is broken because that community doesn't exist anymore. You can't have a sense of community when you don't have community. That is the big problem. And that'll be area by area. Not every area is going to be the same. Not every part of the country, not every street is going to be the same. So that's why your security situation is going to be unique to your area and the people around about you. But I genuinely think that the blitz mentality and spirit that you had in the Second World War cannot be a thing now because of how fractured the country is. And also, at that time, people were more self-sufficient. They could do things for themselves. They understood how to cook, how to grow. And I mean cook, not heat something in a microwave. They were resilient people because they had to be. Whereas now people expect, know their rights, and entitled to everything, but deliver nothing in return. The simple concept of please and thank you is largely forgotten. So that's what I think.
How quickly would that learning curve change? This is what I'm saying with Ukraine and what they went through. Big city environment, similar sort of culture. I'm sure the kids were all the same around there. I'm sure the teenagers were the same. I'm sure they had the same sort of issues. How quickly do you think that
their culture's not the same though? That is the problem. Theirs isn't.
Right.
They haven't had the open door policy that we've had for 20 years. They were much more rigid in the application of who they let in and the common sense approach in which they took. We haven't had that. And anybody that dissents here that says it's a bad call, that we should be more sensible and realistic, is largely badged as racist or other horrible shit.
Yeah.
So I think that, like I said earlier on, your situation is unique to you and your area. Their situation is entirely unique to them, whereas ours is different, and yours is different from mine, and mine is different from Alan's, and Alan's is different from Barry's. So part of your preps is knowing the ground that you're in and the ground truth that revolves round about you. And that's as much an important prep as any tin of beans or a tin opener or a box of matches. You've got to know who's round about you.
Honest self-assessment of the situation.
Yeah.
100%.
Alan, everyone's the hero of their own story, though, and they're just going to fight off the hordes at the door with a crossbow like Daryl from Walking Dead. So it's not an issue, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us know that the lone wolf mentality, I'll sort of defend, pull up the drawbridge, defend my own castle type stance, will only go so far. I mean, I do genuinely believe you have to be on more of an offensive sort of posture in these kind of situations. You have to be prepared to defend what you've got and what you have. You genuinely can't be a pushover. You do have to use some sort of force, whether that just be having red lines that you've drawn for yourself. Nobody gets past my perimeter. This is my gate, and if somebody does, I'm going to act very aggressively. How you do that will depend on the nature of how far into the situation we are and who it is you're being aggressive with. But if you're just a lax pushover, people are going to take advantage of that, because, I mean, it's kind of like what Brian's alluding to. We do live in a culture where, people will take advantage of stuff. There will be gang mentalities. There will be mob mentalities. People will group together. It doesn't matter who they are. Like-minded people will group together. Youths, young fighting age men of all nationalities will group together and form gangs.
Young rapscallions.
We've got a romanticized notion of how the Blitz was. There were still black markets in the Blitz. There were still gangs running around in the Blitz. There was still theft going on, but there was a very harsh approach to criminality back in those days, because it was seen that anybody taking advantage of things like that were the lowest of the low. I'm kind of glass half full. I kind of do think Britain probably still has got some of the Blitz mentality, and all of the wokery and all of the softness that we've got now from decades of peace would eventually, the hard reality of our situation would push that away, I think. And the real spirit of this nation would come back, I think. I mean, we talk about Ukraine and how they've kind of grouped together. Yeah, they're kind of getting their act together. They come from a Soviet bloc in Eastern Europe, so they are a bit more hardened, but they're also pulling men off the street, forcing them into a van and throwing them on the front line. You know, so it's not entirely cuddly there. I think
That is the understatement of the evening I've heard. That's brilliant. I love that. It's not all cuddly there. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. You've got to be sensible about it. 3 weeks into an emergency, if somebody pulls a knife on me for a bag of flour down at Tesco, they can have the bag of flour. You know what I mean? But if somebody starts coming to my door with the same knife, that they're going to get some pushback.
They're going to have a bad time.
They're going to get some pushback. I'm not just going to stand idly by. And if I'm able to sort of group my street together, like we've talked about before,
yes,
where we have community sort of based, neighborhood watches and things like that, because everybody will ultimately have the same goals in mind. They want to protect their home. They want to protect their family. I'm pretty sure the guy across the road from me, even though I don't know him, I know he's a guy. I know he's got a wife. I know he's got some kids. I kind of know what his priorities are. So the same as mine. So I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to say, well, between the two of us, let's make sure nobody gets past this bit of the road. The guy down the street will do the same thing, and that's kind of how it'll go, I think. It's a bit harder, like you, Mike, if you're in a big city. I'm not in a big city, but big cities have got lots of communities, but it might just be a case of fragmented areas. Cities are really just lots of little villages all stuck together, and it might be the case that each one of those little villages does their own thing to safeguard themselves.
You in the village, people.
It's.
I want to be the cowboy one. I've got the hat and everything.
I imagine them little communities that stick together in where I am, it would be very much the case because it's already like that. There's already very segregated like areas. It's not like uncommon knowledge, but there's also bad blood between some of them areas already. In a situation like that, it's an excuse for that bad blood to spill over. And I think it'd be a very hostile environment. Feudal.
You would see. We all know we would see mass criminality. That's for sure. I mean, you can look at it in microcosms across other places. During, if you look at New York, for example, when they were having like downturns, there was like Italian communities, the mafia and stuff like that. They would run their own sort of neighborhoods, and then you would have Russian gangsters, and then you would have other people doing whatever, and they would all compete with each other. They would run black markets, and they would kill each other sometimes. You see the same sort of thing in Northern Ireland, where they literally built walls across roads and said, if you step over this, we're going to shoot you. I mean, that was Britain. That is Britain. And I think we would see some of that. How bad it would be, I don't know. But the chances of you being an outsider and just observing all of that, like a lone wolf type person saying, well, you guys just do what you want. I just want to protect my own little bit over here. That's a no-go. That would actually do you more harm than good. Yeah, that would do you more harm than anything.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. The fundamentals of security, like locks on your doors and all that, we don't need to do. We've done many podcasts on them before, so we'll glaze over that. That's again, it boils down to what Brian said and what I've said before. Do an honest assessment of where you are, your area, the security risks, what you can physically do, and is it worth trying to fight 5 guys at the door, or is it much better to slow them down and get out the back? All right, and live to fight another day. So, honest assessment. The last thing I want to cover, I know we've been going a while, we'll end soon, is the health gap. So, cyber attacks is part of this warfare thing, and we all know the NHS is on the verge of collapse every 2 days anyway, not including potential power outages, not including anything like that. A cyber attack could cripple the NHS, I have no doubt.
Easily.
And I have extreme doubts on how cyber secure they are. So I see it as a general realistic threat. What happened? What did I miss?
You missed about this size. Jesus
The old man
Christ.
dribbled.
Seasoned, Bartholomew seasoned.
Yeah. I'll have to catch it on the replay. Somebody make it into a GIF. Yeah, it'll take you 2 minutes. Brian dribbling. So yeah, the health side of things. I'm lucky at the moment. I don't have any prescription medications that is vital to our survival. We have a prescription medication that goes in the fridge, but it's a quality of life thing more than a survival thing. So we're lucky that way. But medical preps is a big thing. Alan, what kind of things, without an NHS to support you for a month, what kind of things should you have?
Again, I mean, if you've got a very specific medical need, obviously you should have as much as that as possible. I'm thinking sort of people with type 1 diabetes, people who have got very specific heart medication, something like that. Do everything you possibly can to stockpile in that, whether you're allowed to do that or not, right? I would just say do it anyway, right? I'm not giving legal advice. My legal advice is to ignore the law and stockpile as much as your own medication as you possibly can. Because that's the thing you depend on. Mm-hmm. You also have to be careful, though, if we're in a situation where we have a failed healthcare system, about your own personal safety. I mean, I touched on this a little bit about the way it's easy to pick up cuts and scrapes when you're out in the wild. It's far easier to do that because it's an unusual environment. If you're not used to going into the woods, for example, the chances of you tripping literally over yourself and twisting your ankle or scratching yourself and then that becoming an infected cut are far, far more likely. And if you don't have a medical system there to give you antibiotics, for example, for a simple cut that you've picked up, you could be in a lot of trouble. So you do have to be more careful. Again, that's just a kind of common sense thing. Whether you want to stockpile things like antibiotics if you can get a hold of them or other drugs, I suppose that's entirely up to you. Personally, I don't do that. The only thing I've got a little bit of a stockpile of is I've got like aspirin and things like that. I don't need that though. I don't have a medical condition yet at my age, and neither does anybody in my household.
It's coming. It's coming soon, Alan.
That's
right
the thing,
to your door.
It is coming to us all. It's coming to us all. And I think you've made the point before, Mike, that the number one thing that every prepper, every survivalist, every person should do, but nobody wants to talk about, is be as healthy and fit as possible. And then a failed medical
choir,
system.
Guys.
360 people is about to drop down to 7 because he said the fitness word.
Take it to the limit.
It's the ultimate health safeguard. It's the ultimate thing, Yeah. Have a good immune system. It's eat healthier and look after yourself more. Says me who drinks beer while I sit here talking about it, but
that's fine. No, that's all right. That's all right. That's fine.
Everything's moderation, right? It's not asking you to be super fit or anything.
It's when I'm on the hard spirits or I'm drinking the camp stove stuff, then you know I've lost it.
You'll know it's hitting the fan then. The antibiotics, I would definitely recommend people looking at Neosporin. You can get it on eBay in this country. You can also get a version of it, like a triple antibiotic cream, which is not Neosporin, but it's similar sort of stuff on Amazon and things like that. That's the safest, easy way to have, like, if you've got a cut or a wound, that on it is potentially stop you needing more antibiotics. Other things are you can go on a sailing adventure. I'll be booking a sailing adventure around the world, so then you can get a pack from a GP. Is it MedMD, Brian?
Anytime doctor.
Anytime doctor, that's the one, Yeah, you can go on there and let them know that you're going to be nowhere near a doctor for several weeks. So they'll sell you a pack of overpriced medication, which contains antibiotics.
A range of antibiotics.
A range of antibiotics. There you go. So there's all sorts of ways. The old fish antibiotics thing is no longer.
That's gone.
That used to be a thing. That's gone now. Barry, medical preps. You kind of in that industry or within that industry. So it must
Barry's
be
a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Cover blown. Thanks, Ryan.
Well,
Straight, that's it. Straight snitch. Look at that. Bones drug dealer.
you just see your doors getting blown off in a minute.
Oh dear.
Oh, at least something's getting blown off in his house. Sorry, Karen. Go ahead, Barry.
You're taking abuse all over the place today.
So sorry.
Karma's killing Brian. We're all right.
Yeah, I mean, like your basic first aid kits. Have as many of them as you can cheerfully get. And then, as you say, you've got your antibiotics, as both you've mentioned, Mike and Brian's mentioned. Prescription meds, obviously, the stuff you're going to get from the doctors, etc. You're only going to be able to get a limited supply that way. But I mean, make sure you've got plenty of your consumables like bandages, plasters, safety pins, anything like that. You haven't got to go full on medical, army medical grade stuff, because some of it can be expensive, some of it can be difficult to get hold of. But so long as you've got a fairly decent first aid kit and the knowledge to use everything contained in that first aid kit, you should be okay. If you've got the time and you can get access to, go and do a first aid course somewhere. St. John's do them for free. Most work environments will do them as well. Just so if you've got some basic first aid knowledge, that could mean all the difference between getting yourself a really nasty infection and, just putting some ouchie cream on it and getting on with the job.
Yeah. Excellent. Brian, I mean, I've seen the movies. I just open a cartridge, pour the black powder on the wound, set fire to it, snarl, and then carry on killing the bad guys, right? That's all I need to know medical knowledge-wise.
Having camped in your vicinity, that's probably worthwhile you knowing how to do that, to be honest.
You're going to have to add fire suppressants.
Don't stock what you've not been trained to use, like Barry just said. And be realistic. If you're saving somebody's life and shit hits the fan and you've nowhere to send them to, right? So they've got a compound fracture exposed through the skin, right? But you've done a one-day workplace health and safety course, first aid course, and you've got like a box of plasters, right? And the thinnest of crap bandages. But you've saw on YouTube or watched a film and you're going to reset that fracture with some twigs and shit, right? Before you send them to what? The imaginary doctor that's going to come out in a horse or something? Absolute bollocks. Stick to the simple stuff. Stick to within your skill set, right? Burns, small wounds. If you've got tourniquets you've been trained to use, good tourniquets, then keep them. But bear in mind, if you've got nobody to send them to, what are you putting it on for? I mean, if you're saving somebody's life to stop the red stuff coming off and the hospital's got blown up 6 weeks ago, I mean, at some point there's a kindness involved here. Can I suggest? That's a hard call to make with family. But
yeah.
Be aware.
Then you just put it into the hot coals and cauterize it like the Romans did, and there you off you go. I learned all my medical stuff from Rambo and Spartacus.
You can cauterize a wound with gunpowder. That is a real thing, by the way. I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
You do.
See, the next time I go camping, we used to. If I get as much as a fucking splinter, don't touch me. Stay the fuck away.
Mike almost killed himself the very first day we were there.
And it was hilarious.
That's steep when you come down this. Oh, you fucker! Like that. Oh.
Shit, man, you okay?
Oh, I'm all right.
It's still funny. But
lives in our memories rent free.
Antibiotics and things, I stock. People were asking earlier on. I do stock them, and If you've got an abscess, for talking's sake, in your mouth, you can order antibiotics online. I don't think preppers having a stock of antibiotics is going to cause the country to have overnight immunity to antibiotics, right? And antibiotic resistant viruses are going to go through the roof. That's bollocks, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a
control
reasonable
measure.
prep to make. Anytime doctor's really expensive and it's short dates on the antibiotics that you do get, for 99 quid, whilst I've got them, I've got it for there, I won't be buying it from there again. There's easier ways to do it, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's why you need to come along to a prepper meet. We can talk about things.
And for the benefit of the video, I am not qualified to give anybody medical advice, nor do I try, nor is this intended. This is my personal opinion.
Yeah, as the disclaimer says across the bottom. I've got a cupboard full of medical stuff, but I haven't got like a sucking chest seal unit and stuff like that in there because, you know, what am I going to do after I apply that? Like you say, it's there's going to be a lot of harsh triage needing to be done in times like that. I have now got stapler, a skin stapler, which is, I can't wait to try that.
It's probably worth. Everybody should have like a cupboard in their kitchen full of first aid kits. Anyway, you know, it's just something you should have. You should, you know. Whether you ever intend to use them or not, why not have them? Because you could end up in a situation like what Brian's talking about, where we're proper medieval. You know, you've got a bone sticking through your leg, and the only thing you can do is put them in a bed and hope for the best. And a witch doctor comes in and dances around the bed and all that. Hopefully, they're not going to die of sepsis or something, which is what people back in the day would have died of, or shock.
That's what they still do at the Scottish NHS. I thought that was.
You're not far wrong. Hey, the last time I went to A&E with a family member who had a broken nose, we were told there would be a 14-hour wait. 14 hours isn't a wait. That's just A&E's closed.
In your defence, Alan, 2 sugars means 2 sugars in your coffee. They'll learn. This is what a decent first aid kit looks like. It's got Celox gauze in it. Numerous bandages. There's some Israeli bandages in there, a couple of tourniquets, gloves. It's a good first aid kit, and that would be the limit of what I would carry because it's the limit of my skill set. That's basically it. Lots of things to stop the red shit pouring out of body. Pretty simple.
I'm worried now, Alan, because I've no Celox gaze in mine.
You've got enough gays in your life. I'll just. And now people think Brian's homophobic. Great.
That's it. It's another 2 subscribers you've lost.
Or gained.
Don't leave.
Okay.
Oh, and that's when the channel went down the shitter.
Again.
Super glue on small cuts isn't a good idea. Medical grade super glue isn't the same as shop stuff. Yeah, but in a pinch, I don't mind gluing or stapling any of my friends up. Not a problem. So, yeah,
in the gunpowder
stuff. The other someone did say DIY dentistry in the chat as well before. Please don't overlook that. I always advertise not mine, but the plastic Credent type balls that you can mold teeth with. They're absolutely great, and yeah, nobody wants toothache in the apocalypse. So think about dentistry as well. And I think we mentioned the other day, Alan, on shadows. With things deteriorate, not just your health, your eyes. So you can go to pound shops and you can get +4, +3.5, +3, +2.5, all these different glasses that you might not need right now.
Yeah.
But for the sake of a couple of quid in a cupboard, you've got eyesight when it all goes
wrong.
I
mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, my eyesight's getting a bit crappy as I get older. But if you're somebody who's got prescription glasses and you only have 1 pair or maybe 2 pairs at a push because you've got designer ones and they're expensive, you might want to think about getting 5 or 6 really cheap prescription pairs of glasses as well, because, you know, Lord of the Flies, if you lose that pair of glasses and you're literally blind, that's a massive disadvantage you've just put yourself at. Doesn't matter how many preps you've got if you can't bloody see anything, you know. you know,
Yeah.
for the sake of stockpiling a couple of cheap. You can buy glasses online with a prescription for £6. You know,
Wow.
There you go.
yeah. You just put in your when you get your eye test, you get the prescription. They have to give it to you, and then you put the there's sites online. You just get cheap glasses, £6. You don't need to pay 150 quid or whatever.
I refuse to wear mines.
I need these sites. I need not for me, but the missus has prescriptions. So
Yeah.
right. I think we need to wrap up. I have got one last question, which is relevant to all of this, which I want to pose to all of you and hopefully get some sources out there for people. When the internet is flooded with conflicting reports about the enemy, the front line, who's attacking who, what's going on, and mainstream media is obviously always to be trusted. What media sources do you use to keep an eye on, and what do you trust enough to make that decision whether to stay put or to flee? So, Alan.
I don't trust any mainstream media enough to a point where I'm going to sort of advertise them as yes, go to this website or go to this news organization and take everything they say to heart. From a local point of view, you know, I'm going to pay attention to local emergencies, you know, whether that be a weather event or impending doom of some description. If we're being fed that information, we could probably ascertain where the source is coming from. If the BBC are saying it, as much as I dislike them, and Sky News, there's probably some truth in it. So, I mean, I wouldn't ignore it. If the BBC suddenly flashed up right now, we're about to, you know, a tidal wave is on the way, I wouldn't ignore them thinking, yeah, whatever, BBC, try to get tax money out of me. I would take that as possible.
Any excuse for the TV license.
Yeah, I'm not falling for that. I'm not looking at your iPlayer just to find out that. But I mean, I get my information from different sources just generally. I think I've said before, I've got about 6 different sources, and every single one of them is biased. Every single one of them. But between the 6 of them, I can kind of ascertain a little bit what that side is genuinely thinking, and then piece things together that way. I mean, I follow a lot of American politics, so I'll listen to Daily Wire, you know, Ben Shapiro, who's very right-wing and obviously very much on Trump's side, but at least I get to know what their side of the world is thinking, as opposed to what CNN is talking about, because, you know, they hate Trump type thing. So, but I'll listen to a little bit of both, and I can see that. I'll look at ground news, because that gives me a rundown of all the different headlines of what's going on, and it also tells me whether it's left or right or centre, because that makes a difference. We live in a world where it's, you know, if you're left wing, you're right wing, you have a world view, and you have a very particular opinion. Unfortunately, the media is either left or right. There is no genuine, completely impartial news. That's never been the case, and it's taken me years to get to this point in life where I really see it for what it is. It's very, very biased to one direction. Mostly left. For some reason, it is mostly left. And the right-wing media outlets, both in the UK and the US, are usually a little bit crazy. You know, they're not giving good information. The left, at least, are smarter about it. But you just have to know what's left, what's right, what's likely to be wrong, what's not likely to be wrong, and then group it all together and make your own view from that. That's how I do it anyway.
Yeah. Cheers, Dios, for the 556. I got a skin stapler. Can't wait to try that out. He's quoting me. That must be the best quote for the live stream then. Barry, same question to you. Sources of media, who would you trust and when to flee and stuff like that? Anything you can give to the peoples?
I think the more information you get from sources that you feel like you can trust to at least sort of 80 to 90% is going to benefit you regardless. Most everybody's, you know, going to take everything that the British Bias Corporation is going to pump out. They're going to take that with a pinch of salt. I'm fortunate that obviously with my profession, I've got access to emergency services, communications. So, you know, I can listen out for stuff along those lines.
And let us know accordingly, of course.
Oh, I would do. Absolutely. I mean, that's what the Discord's all about. It's about sharing information, knowledge, etc. And if something we can say saves a life potentially, then that's can only be good. So yeah, local knowledge as well is going to be your main topic you want to be listening to. It's no good listening to the BBC or whoever if whatever they're telling you is 400 miles away and it's not going to affect you. You need to be listening to local sources you can trust, and you need to back up that information by getting it from 3 or 4 different sources. If you're getting the same information from 3 or 4 sources, chances are it's worth listening to.
Excellent. Yeah, similar sort of thoughts there, Brian.
More or less what the guys have said. You can't trust any one news source over anybody else because, as Alan rightly pointed out, they've all got their biases and their own spin. Because don't forget, it's a business. They're not supplying you with news because they're nice people or they want to provide a valuable service. They're doing it because they're being paid. And he who sends the checks calls the shots. So there'll always be an element of spin on it and an element of bias. Independent media is absolute bollocks. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. Not when there's money involved. So it's nonsense. So you've got to canvass all the news that you're aware of and make a judgment call on the ring of truth. If they're all reporting the same thing, then there's a good chance of being likely. But then again, call me cynical. There's always a lot of bollocks in the news these days as well. So radio, not just media on the internet, radio, Discord, if it's still up and running at that time, people will have Starlink up and running. There's Meshcore will be up and running. Word of mouth, right? We've got people all over the country. If somebody on Discord's telling you and sending pictures on Discord that they've got bombs and parachutes dropping out the sky, then I'm going to believe that. If the BBC tell me it, then I'd probably want to see the parachute.
Yeah, want to see the canopies open first.
There's literally hundreds and hundreds of posts on Facebook right now of completely fake news of things like American aircraft carrier sunk by Iran. I seen that one earlier on, and this stupid stuff.
But people realize very quickly as well, because I saw a magic carpet chasing an American jet with a machine gun mounted on it.
Yeah, but it's another danger.
Sounds legit.
It's another danger we all have now is AI slop, and AI slop in the news is a real phenomenon, and we just have to kind of wade our way through it, unfortunately.
No is the answer.
Yeah, correct.
No, that's excellent. 331 people in here still. We are just about to end. Please stick around, and the guys can quickly tell you about their channels. First of all, I'd like to tell you about Miss Worm's channel, publish author, awesome chief moderator, keeping all our other moderators in check, and of course all of you guys in check as well. John Platt, thank you for the gifted membership, whoever lands that one. So yeah, go and check out her book online. Go and check out her channel at Miss Worm, which is growing exponentially at the moment. So get in while the getting's good. It's great. You might want to listen to it at bedtime. I like to listen while I'm washing up, so go and check out her stories. Brian, tell us about Scottish Prepper 73. 1 minute.
He's an asshole.
Go.
I tend to do things that interest me, so predominantly with a spin on solar power, generator sets, things to make your life easy for the unexpected, freeze-dried food, general news that might affect or make you want to prep, things that are going wrong in the world, things that are going wrong in the country, things that are going wrong in the local area, and projects that I'm doing to try and make my life a bit easier. So, like the next video will be on a diesel heater as a secondary heat source, pumping heat into the house should the grid go down, or my heat pump, which has broke down 3 times in the last 6 months because it's a piece of shit Valiant.
There you go. Preps that are practical even now. Barry, elevator pitch, Broadcoat Prepper, go.
prepping from the novice point of view, doing it on the cheap, nothing filtered. It's just basically I try stuff out, and if it doesn't work, you guys get to know it, watch it, and have a laugh.
There you go. Sold. Miss Worms also posting all these channels as links in there, so make sure you go over and show some love. Alan, a world survivalist, newly hitting his benchmarks, earning his massive big bucks through YouTube. How are you going to generate that cash this week?
It's only thanks actually to these kind of chats coming on here that I've been able to do that, because my channel's years old. I said this in a previous thing, and it was kind of inconsistent, so it's only been in the past sort of 6 or 7 months that I've been speaking to you guys, and the group of people who follow us in this chat have pushed me over the line. Now I've been able to monetize the channel, which hopefully will get me to, push me to do more content. So thanks very much, guys. Thanks everybody for that. My channel is largely based mostly and focused on the wilderness side of things, camping, wildernessy type survival stuff, kit reviews. There's a little bit of talking head stuff in there I've chucked in just to see if that gets any interest.
It's good. Keep that up. It's good.
Hopefully there'll be a little bit more prepper type stuff as well, a bit more chat like this. And I am behind a little bit with the actual proper camping stuff, which has its own separate audience, but I do have some backlog of that. So hopefully there'll be more of that soon. But it's more camping, wildernessy type stuff than anything else.
Excellent. And if you're watching on any other channels, I'm Mike, the UK Urban Prepper. My only claim to fame is bringing a bunch of idiots together so I can steal their knowledge and make a channel out of it. So I've done quite well off bringing a bunch of people together and stealing all their knowledge. So instead of plugging my channel, one last chance. If you join Patreon before the 10th, I'm giving away this Nebo head torch, this awesome Smith & Wesson search and rescue knife, alongside lots of other goodies, which are no longer going to be in a mystery box. They're going to be in a mystery dry bag, because I don't have a box. So the dry bag is going to be part of the gift as well. So loads of stuff in there that's going to go to one winner who supports me on Patreon, which is the best way to support me. So with that said, and you know all these guys' channels, there's nothing else to say. Brian, final thoughts and goodbyes?
We live in exciting times. Just do what we do. We'll get through it one way or another, no matter what happens, and don't let it overtake your life. Cheers, guys.
Excellent. Barry, final thoughts and goodbyes?
Yes, thank you guys for having me on again. I know it's few and far between, but real life does get in the way of prepping sometimes. So yeah, thanks for having me on again, and look forward to being on the next one.
Barry's just showing off because he's got friends in real life. Alan, final thoughts on this one?
I would just say take the time to go outdoors. There's lots of therapeutic sort of aspects to simply just going for a walk in the woods and getting a little bit more back to nature and learning a few outdoorsy type skills. And it'll go a long way to your approach as a prepper as well, because it gives you a little bit of a different perspective on how to prepare. So, and like Brian says, don't let the world's events get you down, because it happens in every generation, and it's just a case of preparing for it as best you can. It's not, preparation for me isn't about trying to work out the future. It's just about trying to be as secure in the now as much as I can be to the best of my ability. And you don't have to be crazy about it, even though, like Mike says earlier as well, it's all of us have a bit of a joke about it. But I mean, this is my entire life. It's like I spend all of my time doing this, but I'd like to think I'm not crazy. It doesn't, you don't have to be that way. The stereotypes. It's just a case of
Alan, you weren't crazy.
Alan's crazy.
It's not like I'm luring people to an island or anything. It's
So far. Oh, wait a minute. We've done that.
We've done that. Yeah, get outdoors and don't worry.
Excellent. My final thoughts were the reasons we do all of this is not so you follow exactly what we do. None of us are experts. We're all here to learn as well as teach what we can. Discord's an awesome community, well over 450 people on there now, all with knowledge in different streets and aspects. It's absolutely amazing. And we want to learn from you as well. So get involved with the Discord, get involved with the channel, make prepping normal, make resilience in the UK normal. Talk about it with your friends, your family, your neighbors. You'll fall on deaf ears, but don't give up on them. We won't give up on you. See you in the next one.
In
Bye,
the
folks.
glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance, living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue. In the glow of embers dance, we've prepared for every chance, living simple, living true, with the dream we all pursue.
I'm Brian! I'm Brian! I'm Brian! I'm Brian! I'm Brian and so's my wife! Right, take him away and release him. No, I'm only joking. I'm not really Brian.